He will be back next week. Tomorrow we're going to be doing a live stream with Daniel, who will be coming on. We'll be discussing individualism, Calvinism, and the consequences of that on society. We're going to maybe start a Christian series, possibly. We have to get the approval from some of the upper heads, but I want to start doing that. So for now, we're going to be covering the Andrew Wilson, Candace Owens debate that happened today. For all the people that were at work, I got to say, it took a tremendous amount of prudence and fortitude and self-preservation to not take a peek at this debate. But I managed to do it, so I'm coming in unbiased. I don't have any priors with this. I do think that evidence is important. I'm not necessarily on the side of Candace Owens, but I'm going to be providing some commentary. I'm going to be thinking about these things, and we will get it all figured out. So we got a 4-hour stream that we're going to do. It's a lot. If it's bullshit, and if it seems like it's not going anywhere, if it seems like nothing, then I'll probably end the stream early just because I do have to work tomorrow. But I don't know. We'll probably stick through it, see what's going on. And I'm going to watch it on PBD's channel because I want to remain completely unbiased as far as my viewership. So we're going to get into it. We're going to see what happens here, if anything, soon. But we'll skip ahead, see what they have to say.
Since the dawn of mankind, humans have had one obsession: capturing their greatest gaming moments.
I have no producers, I have nothing, so
The clutch plays, the glorious wins, the moments your entire squad lost their mind over, the fails so catastrophic they became legend. Every era found a way to preserve them. Now there's one built for ours.
all right, we can hear everything fine, so here we go. Let's get it started. A lot of, I guess since it was live, there was a big gap here. Got Candace's thing coming on here too in the corner. Oh, you guys can't see it because I'm covering that up. All right, there's our starting point. Let's do this.
Candace, Andrew, good to sit down here with you, talking to you guys about the conversation that I think started with you being on Joe Rogan when you said, hey, I'm offering $300,000. And for the audience watching this, you have to know when you see this final product, there's a lot of stuff that happens behind closed doors. There was still communication till midnight, even some of the stuff this morning. Like it's like you're trying to sell a company. It's the last 24 hours that the deal doesn't work out, but kudos to the both of you guys that you made it work. The topic of discussion today, how this got prompted is...
I know he's Iranian, but I really like PBD. I think that he's a honest dude. People say he's sold out to Israel. I don't think so. I think he's an honest dude. I really like him. I just had to say that.
Andrew, you said there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson shot and killed Charlie Kirk. And Candace, your position was he's a patsy. Tyler Robinson is a patsy. So, of course, we'll talk about a lot of different things, but that's kind of how the whole thing got started. For the audience watching, I think this is truly for three different people. Number one is anybody out there that loves Charlie, respects Charlie, his legacy, what he did. We have a lot of love and admiration for what he did. He changed the lives of many people, young men, young women. You worked with him for many years. You guys were friends. You've said a lot of good things about Charlie, respectful towards him. You guys may have disagreed on some things, but you had a lot of respect for him. The second audience is the folks out there, you, that's watching this. And so for you, you've been wanting something like this to take place. And kudos for Andrew for coming out and saying, hey, I want to have this conversation, and for Candace to accept it. So You have the ability to say, I agree, I disagree, comment, do all the stuff that you're doing online. And if you want to see more of these things, any of the 3 channels, subscribe to them. The Candace Show, The Crucible. I'm sure some of the people from Crucible are watching as well, and the PBD Podcast. The more you subscribe to this, the more we're able to deliver these types of conversations to you. And last but not least, it's about the 2 of you. My goal is to speak as little as possible. 99% of the time, it'll be you guys speaking, and the audience will be able to see it. If I jump in, just so everybody knows, on the back end, both have agreed. In the back, there's 3 people representing Andrew and 3 people representing Candace to do fact checking. So at any point, if somebody makes a claim, the other can say, can we fact check this? I can jump in and say, fact check this. Even the folks in the back can say, fact check this. So it is a very fair conversation that we're having here. And so with that being said, kudos to Michael Knowles. Your name was mentioned a lot. You missed out right now. The last 10 minutes, we talked about you. There's a lot of love and respect here mutually from both parties, all 3 of them here. And then, of course, the great Joe Rogan that started this conversation. And he also volunteered, but it ended up being this format that we have here today. So with that being said, Andrew, your claim is overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. Opening statements, opening comments.
Sure. And what I mean by overwhelming is I just find it very convincing. I think that's what most people mean when they say overwhelming evidence. So I have a brief opening statement. On September 10th, 2025, Charlie Kirk was murdered. Many of you already know a lot about the events which occurred after Kirk's death. You remember the ghoulish laughter, celebrations, and madness we saw from leftists all over, from TikTok invasions, debates, posts on social media.
I think that no matter what happens in this debate, that should be remembered, that there were people that were laughing and celebrating. And I think that gets lost, maybe on purpose, but I think that gets lost when we consider Israel's involvement. I think she's thrown out that France was somehow involved, all these different involvements that take the attention away from the left. We have to understand these people are radical, these people are ridiculous, and these people are bloodthirsty. The left is more willing to do violence, while the right is much more capable. I think we have to remember that, especially when it comes to this stuff, because we had an opportunity to completely demolish the left wing after Charlie Kirk's horrific assassination. And I didn't even agree with Charlie Kirk, but it was horrific. It was disgusting. So don't let that get lost on you in the whole Israel stuff.
Destruction of memorials and things like this. Within weeks of Kirk's death, a cottage industry began to form, peddling various alternative theories on how he died. What special interest may have killed him, what nations were involved, and was our own government one of them? Because this was the first nationwide traumatic event in Gen Z's lifetime, the demand for answers was severe and palpable. The leading theory from the conspiracy verse is that Israel worked with the United States government to murder Charlie Kirk. Within a day or two of Kirk's death, Ian Carroll claimed that Israel killed Charlie Kirk, and the conspiracy caught on like wildfire. This theory was built on one misleading piece of evidence, that in his final days, on or around September 8th, Charlie sent a text message reading, "Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause." This was sent in the context of a platforming dispute regarding Tucker Carlson. From this scintilla of misleading information, it was speculated that Israel killed Charlie Kirk because he would have successfully opposed the Iranian war. Now, that's a fun theory, and who doesn't like a good, fun conspiracy theory? I like them. But there is no evidence that Israel actually killed Charlie Kirk. And if Candace has some, I'd like her to actually show it to me. I'm open to suggestions, but to date, there hasn't been any. There is, however, tons.
I think that's going to be the main point of this entire debate. The main thing is going to be evidence. Which evidences stack up against the other? Which compiled theories? Is it based on feelsies? Is it based on things that we would like to be true? But I think that to seek the truth is better overall. Maybe in the short term, we may feel good to think Israel did it. because Israel's obviously a problem. But if we commit to that idea, then we need to commit to it because it's true, not because we want it to be true. Because if we commit to it and then it turns out to be false, they're going to use that as a reason to get rid of all the other things that Israel has done against the United States.
Of evidence that a leftist killed Charlie Kirk, just as Charlie feared they would. I believe Charlie Kirk, and I have the receipts. No, I didn't have a dream where he came to me and told me that the left killed him. No, he didn't come to me a dream and say, Candace Owens betrayed him. That never happened. In fact, I don't need dreams of any kind because I hold in my possession never before seen messages from Charlie Kirk to his security team on September 9th, 2025. I'm going to share the message with you today, which is the first time this information's ever been publicly revealed. On September 9th, Charlie's security team wrote to him, yes, law enforcement has been fully supportive and agreed to a security plan and posture. Tomorrow's event will be covered by both my team and the campus PD. If additional support is required, patrol units will be available. I have 11 on site. Charlie responded with this, okay, great. Remind them that they are there for one person's security only, because I'm somewhat worried the left is trying to kill me. That was a message sent.
That's pretty big. Because one of the pretexts for Candace Owens' theory is that he thought that he was going to be killed. He didn't specify by who. So if that's true, what he's saying, that he specified in that instance that it was the left, that's pretty big.
September 9th. Whatever could he have meant by that? Well, I think he meant exactly what he said, that he was worried the left was going to try to kill him. Now, we'll discuss this more later on in the debate, and maybe I have more never-before-seen evidence that exposes just how wrong and, in my opinion, idiotic many of these conspiracy theories have been. But that's what happens when you rely on what's called the evidence of the gaps. In other words, they don't have evidence, they seem to just make up evidence. And what did they make up? Well, in my opinion, kind of whatever lined the pockets. And I think it's ghoulish to profit off of the death of a good man.
And Candace Owens did nothing but profit. She's making like $1 million a month right now off of Charlie Kirk's death because it's sensational, because everybody wants to believe it, because it's something that attracts our attention, because it's a conspiracy. It's like JFK again. It's JFK 2.0. I'm hitting the pause button for this with my toes, by the way. Just thought I'd fill you in on that. That's pretty fun.
But we came here today to debate, and so let's get to it. The debate topic today is, one, my belief that there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk, and two, Candace's belief that there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson was a patsy and didn't kill Charlie Kirk. In sum, the audience is going to decide who has more evidence supporting their theory. My theory is that the state is correct that Tyler Robinson is the killer, at least based on evidence so far, and Candace's theory that Tyler Robinson is not the killer and he's a patsy set up by the feds. To be clear, this is not a question of reasonable doubt. If it was reasonable doubt, and that's all it was, and that's all Candace was proffering, I wouldn't even be here having the debate with her. It's fair to have doubts, as the trial has yet to occur, and the state hasn't even begun to try to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt, but Candace makes a more forceful claim. She claims that there's more evidence that Tyler is not guilty of murder and was set up as a patsy than there is for the state's case, and I just think that that's absurd. And she will not be able to demonstrate that in any way. In fact, she has almost no real evidence at all of her theory, whereas my theory is supported by compelling witness testimony, physical evidence, multiple confessions, all of which are independently compelling, but which are even more convincing as each piece of evidence corroborates the others.
Now, a good devil's advocate position for that would be that this is the mainstream narrative. That's probably what Candace would be arguing in this instance, is that this is the mainstream narrative, so of course there's going to be more evidence piled up because they're not even paying attention to this, that, and the other thing. So maybe that's what she's going to say. Maybe she'll take a different angle, but I feel like with what he's saying that this argument is the most complete because we have witness testimony, we have the text messages, but the trial is completely focused on Tyler Robinson because he was the guy caught. So maybe she's going to use that angle. Who knows?
Notice the term overwhelming was included
I'm still using my toes, by the way. My piggies. Okay, all right.
in both theories. This is because Candace demanded I defend my use of that term, which I think is fair, in describing the evidence against Tyler Robinson. She, on the other hand, only wanted to defend her theory as merely viable. That is, until I showed her clips in which she said she believed the evidence of her theory, that Tyler Robinson's a patsy, was supported by overwhelming evidence. Only then did she agree to defend that position. Regardless, we're both defending the claim that there's overwhelming evidence on our side, so it's worth defining that term. When I say the evidence against Robinson's overwhelming, all I'm saying is that I mean that as of right now, I find it very convincing. I see almost no evidence at all, only speculation on verified claims and suggestions of things that could merely be hypothetically possible. Dreams, vibes, feelings, things like this. Almost done, by the way. I have no problem defending the state's case and welcome Candace bringing up any challenges she would like. But if I'm honest, the reason I was willing to pay the $300,000 for this debate was to finally have a chance for someone to demand Candace be held accountable for the unbelievable theories and claims she's been making. Candace's investigation is indistinguishable from a leftist operation. She couldn't be doing more damage to the right if she were trying. She uses her considerable platform to relentlessly attack one of the most influential conservative outreach organizations for young people, and she's making a mockery of the online right-wing commentary class.
That's a good point that he just made, because TPUSA, whatever you think about him, I'm not a big fan of Erica Kirk. I don't think that she should have been automatically the CEO of TPUSA, and I think that it's messed up that she's not actually mourning with her kids. Of course, we don't know the situations, we're not in their shoes. We don't know what really goes on behind the scenes, but that is a huge outreach organization to bring college kids into the conservative movement. That's what Charlie Kirk did. He went on college campuses and he argued for his ideas, and those arguments do work, especially the arguments against abortion, against the transgender ideology, against the homosexual ideology, even though he was sort of in favor of that. Not in favor, but he was sort of, he gave too much to that, gave too much leeway to that ideology, the homosexuals. But as far as the abortion, the Christianity, all those things, this is something that is a force for good overall. If you look at the net of the situation, it's a positive. It's bringing people over, and you get somebody on the right, especially if they're in the middle, you get somebody shifted over to the right a little bit, they're going to be far right before long, which is, some people may say that's not what we want, but it is what we want. We want far right ideologies in this country because that is what's going to give way to truth. I do think that far right is a pathway to these higher truths when you take things seriously. So he's exactly right about that.
She's harming Republicans in an election year by dividing them. She's attacking the very organization Charlie spent his life building. And she's attacking the people he loved, including his wife. And it cost me $300,000. But today, I hope that she finally answers for some of that.
Thank you, Andrew. Candace?
Did you get it out of your system?
I did.
Okay, great. Well, I'm not going to waste time with the preamble because
Women are so condescending. That's unbelievable. Did you get it out of your system? I like Candace Owens too, but come on. And she's wearing a t-shirt with a suit jacket.
think I just want to get to the substance of the debate, and we'll just speak to the audience. I have obviously had an audience since we've been covering this case. People know that there was a personal friendship between me and Charlie, and diminishing the pursuit of something that makes sense regarding what happened on September 10th by throwing it to, this is just people who are conspiracy theorists. These are people who are just trying to generate clicks. I don't think that people should be satisfied by that. I want people to remember that it's important to think. We've been lied to by the government a great many times over, I mean, just the last couple of years, if you just think of the things that we've learned about our government. And I do want to say this, what's been the most disturbing element, I think, for everyone is that not only does the narrative not make any sense, which I'm going to demonstrate, I don't need to waste time with the preamble going through the points or trying to insult you or pretending that I've been running a podcast saying it's just dreams and vibes like I'm Miss Cleo. And that's the reason why it's taking so many influencers. It looks like $1 billion industry of influencers to dispute everything Candace says. It's not because I'm on my platform saying I had a dream last night. I don't think I think that diminishes you as an argument. Obviously, we have presented a lot of evidence. You just presented a text message and said, this is evidence. Well, that's how this entire thing began. You're talking about how Israel got into the conversation. It was because immediately after Charlie died, one of the first things we saw was this push to make us all think and remember how much he loved Israel. It's because the prime minister of Israel, who's fighting like a...
That is not a good argument. And the reason that's not a good argument is because Israel are opportunists, especially at a time. You have to look at the context. And I'm not trying to be biased against Candace Owens, but you have to look at the context in which we are right now, or even back in September of last year when Charlie Kirk was murdered, assassinated, for everybody to see. Israel, of course, are opportunists. They're leeches. They're going to use that as a platform to try to make themselves look better because they were in, especially last year, September, they were in the lowest of the low category of popularity. I think people were realizing the issue of Israel probably early 2025, maybe the end of 2024. You have to look at the broader context. Why would they do these things? Why would Bibi Netanyahu come out saying that Charlie was a huge supporter of Israel's? Because everybody's emotions were invested in this thing that just happened. And Israel are opportunist. That doesn't necessarily lead to the conclusion that they had some involvement in it. I don't even understand that argument because Charlie was like their biggest goy.
27 front war, felt that he needed to come do a little mini tour and to be, strangely, to state that I did not kill Charlie Kirk when nobody was having that thought that I can remember. Nobody was going, I wonder if Bibi Netanyahu killed Charlie Kirk. And
he said that in the midst of everybody claiming that. I think Candace Owens was claiming that at the time.
And we had a round of influencers who lied and said Charlie was not changing on Israel, that he wasn't having any disagreements regarding that topic, that the day he died, he just loved Israel so much. And I demonstrated via a text message, which you just mentioned, and you're now contextualizing and pretending it was just about Tucker Carlson, which is not true. It was a part of a broader shift that Charlie was having over the last, I would say, actually, on your show, it began since October 7th, which is when I began asking myself more questions about Israel as well. And so, yeah, when all of these things happen in the immediate aftermath, and then I drop a text message after everyone is denying that, Tucker Carlson then comes out and confirms the conversations that he had with Charlie. Megyn Kelly then comes out and confirms the private conversations that she had with Charlie. People then begin to ask a reasonable question.
Let's look at the timeline. Every single prominent person was shifting away from Israel because for two reasons. Israel was becoming extremely unpopular. The people that were supporting Israel were becoming extremely unpopular. The only people who withheld, you have to understand, this is a game. There are cameras set up, there are lights set up. These people are trying to gain your attention, just like I am now. But I'm not going to lie about it. But they're trying to acquire your attention in this attention economy. They're going to space themselves away from unpopular things. Israel was extremely unpopular. That's what it was. So, of course, Charlie was doing that, especially when all of the pressure was put on him from these donors who were probably extremely harassing in a way. Probably they're probably harassing him all the time, calling him all the time. You're a dude and you're extremely prominent. Your phone probably blows up anyway all the time. No pun intended, or no whatever intended. But it's probably, you're always on watch for your phone, getting a call from the president, all these different things. And now this issue, these donors, these people that are harassing you are extremely unpopular in the culture. It's just a move away for that reason, and because maybe you came to the conclusion that I shouldn't be supporting this because it can't be supported, which is hopefully the conclusion that he was coming to. Hopefully it wasn't just for popularity's sake or attention's sake, but hopefully it was for the truth that these people are leeches that are using the United States. The only people that still hold their love for Israel are like retarded evangelicals who think that Jews are the chosen people, or Jewish people who have a right to citizenship in Israel if things go wrong here, so they can leech from us.
Which is, why are we lying about this? If they were forthcoming with that and they had said, hey, yeah, Charlie was starting to ask questions. I think after October 7th, it's reasonable that people are starting to re-examine our relationship with Israel. We wouldn't be here today. But it has been lie after lie after lie, debunk after debunk after debunk. Yes, I did share that I had a dream that Charlie was betrayed. It's not a dream anymore. It's a reality. I look at what the organization has become, the people that they are partnering with, the lies that they are telling, the extraordinary people that they're sending out to say that I hadn't speak to Charlie since 2018, and it begins to look like a conspiracy. And just as a historical fact, that entire term was created by the CIA to gaslight people after the assassination of JFK. So it's not exactly one that makes me nervous. Like, calling somebody a conspiracy theorist is essentially saying that they demand further answers and they're not accepting the Fed slop. So I'm grateful that you came today. I don't need to, like I said, take cheap shots and discuss your manner of debate or your strategy. And I'm also grateful that you shared that you had that text message today, because everybody watching knows that I have been demanding not a debate, just an open conversation with Turning Point USA. They should be here. It shouldn't be you in that chair. It should be the person that took Charlie's place, maybe Erica Kirk, maybe Andrew Colbert. He's a spokesperson. And rather than doing that, they send us another influencer. So let's see how it goes.
Just out of curiosity, are you, between 0 to 100, what is the likelihood that you think Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk and killed him?
Based on the evidence.
When it shows the wide view of both of them sitting there, look at their feet. The nervousness is in the feet shaking. If you pay attention, they're shaking about the same. I could rewind it, but I'm not going to. But the on the wide view, the shaking of the foot is the anxiety, the buildup, or the anticipation for having an answer. So those things can be confused. But the foot shaking, they both have their feet crossed. I'm going to do a little bit of a psychoanalysis here, but both of them have their legs crossed, so they're held off from one another. They don't want to expose themselves to one another, so to speak. So neither of them have their arms crossed, which is really a defensive position, but they both have their legs crossed, so they're very uneasy about each other. So that's something to pay
It's right
attention
now. I don't know. I'd say 75, 85%.
Candace?
The hand on the, oh, we're getting an ad. What is this?
It's hard for us to imagine a life with dirty water.
0%.
0%.
I'm at 0.
So
with what we've seen in terms of the evidence, I'm at 0%.
So not only, that maybe somebody was behind him as a patsy influencing him, you're not even saying that he didn't even shoot Charlie.
I don't know if you guys can hear me. Protecting the neck. He thinks that she is a aggressive force. She doesn't seem that worried, which is interesting. But watch the feet.
Right. I would, if you said, was he involved that day, as I have consistently said on my platform, I would say yes, he was. I don't know what role he played, but as the shooter, 0%.
Do you have any evidence for it?
For what? My percentage?
The fact that he didn't shoot and kill Charlie Kirk.
Yes, which I'm hoping we're going to get to, all of the evidence that he feels that he has. I mean, I'm not even convinced that Charlie was shot from the rooftop on Losi that day, based on the evidence that has been.
Do you think he was shot?
I do not think that Charlie was shot from a 30-06 from Losi.
Yeah, but just shot at all.
I don't know. I think that a projectile hit Charlie, and I'm open to other.
That's way different from what she said in the past. She was on Sean Ryan's show, and she said that the microphone exploded through some sort of, I forget what the acronym is, but it's P something, PNT, PENT, something like that. That the microphone that he had on exploded. But now she's saying that it was a projectile.
People's presentations, but I have not seen.
And his foot went still. He's up.
Any compelling evidence that Charlie was shot by a 30-06.
Can we see maybe if we're going to have an olive branch to each other, if maybe we can establish what we consider the facts of the case to be first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So you're not sure if he was actually shot. You're open to alternative theories.
He was definitely hit with a projectile of some description. If we're talking about was he shot from a gun, a 30-06, I would say definitively no.
Okay.
It defies common sense to think that he had a Superman neck, and even if he did have a Superman neck, which has been demonstrated, I think actually recently a YouTuber actually set up Valhalla steel cages and shot it, and it went through. So under no circumstance will I.
So at least not a 30-06.
Definitively not. A 30-06 from Losi, 150 feet. No.
But you're not necessarily closing off the avenue that he could have been shot at all?
With maybe a smaller
Caliber? Okay. And then there's some things that I'm going to make concessions on that I do think we need more answers on, and I'm fine with that. And we can get to those things as well. The other thing is in the timeline, one of the things that we dispute, I think, on the timeline is that you think that Robinson drove hours away to a steakhouse in
Yes.
the timeline. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what's the compelling evidence that you think you have there?
I spoke to the owner of the restaurant, and I have seen the receipt. I know the conversation that I had, and I think it's enough that it will be presented. Obviously, if this goes to trial, but yes, I do believe that he was in Panguitch, which is near his grandparents' home.
Did he give you an unedited copy of that receipt?
I have seen an unedited copy of that receipt. It was not given to me from the owner. But I want to, before we get into like all the timeline stuff, I want to address what you think is evidence so we can keep this on par with what your claim is.
Well, I think that that's a piece of evidence that's in dispute. And that's why I'm.
Yeah, but
because if
we're
not
trying to get
establishing
to
the
whether there's
timeline-
overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson did this.
Yeah,
So
if you
whether
want to
then
use
starting
the first,
with
if you want to use the first part of that for the internal critique,
yeah,
for you,
we should
that's
go
fine.
over the actual evidence that we feel.
The first reason that I think it's compelling evidence is that Tyler Robinson's rifle was found near the crime scene. So I would consider that to be very good evidence. And also the fact of the matter is that I dispute this claim that a 30-06 could not have made this wound. I think that that's absurd. 150 grain Remington core lock absolutely could shatter when it hit.
Can I just say that it's crazy that Andrew Wilson and Candace Owens are debating right now? That's insane. Not right now, but earlier. Whatever.
The neck of any human being. When you say that there's some steel neck and it's a smaller caliber, you have to make a counter explanation. Why wouldn't a smaller caliber also go through bone?
It could. I didn't say it can't.
Right, exactly. So if that's the case, then ammunition is going to be the critical key here. And if we have frangible ammunition, which we do in this case, a flex tip round, well, I'm sorry, not a flex tip, a soft point round from a 150 grain Remington core lock, that's just a small jacket that goes around the actual lead piece. This thing could have split apart in air for all we know, but definitely upon impact. And we have the medical examiner who confirms this in a summary. And my team can bring that up, the summarization, which means he would have to be a part of some kind of conspiracy as well.
Okay. So just to start with your point about saying that the gun was found near him.
The Ridge is giving away a Lamborghini.
I'm going to pause it on this ad. I hate that I'm getting ads right now. I think that Andrew is going to make a mistake of thinking that he's going to make a point, and she's going to have no refutation, no way of getting past the point. Even if she dodges the point, I think that he's going to make that mistake, that he's going to have like a killer moment, and it's going to hit, but I don't think he's going to get that.
Her Concerado. And the craziest part about all of it, you don't have to buy anything. There is no purchase required. So if you're not a Lamborghini fan,
I mean, near Losey Center, or I guess off in the woods, that gun. Did you watch the testimony? Did you watch the preliminary hearing?
Yeah, we covered it live. Yeah.
Okay, so forgetting what the summary of the medical report was, did you watch the testimony that was given by the Caitlin Oliver, the ATF woman, Samantha Carner, any of those people who went into the science of?
Yes, I recall. You're talking about
the bullet analysis.
Yeah, when they went into the DNA.
Okay, so that's kind of the most relevant part.
Okay.
I'm not denying, I've never denied on my platform or anywhere else that a gun owned by Tyler Robinson was found near the crime scene, right? That doesn't remove, if you think somebody's set up as a patsy, you could take a gun out of this room right now and you could walk out and plant it in the woods near a crime scene.
I agree.
That's not convincing evidence to me.
I concur with the fact that that's a possibility.
So you, I think, have said on a platform that you were a gunsmith. Mm-hmm. Okay. And for how many years?
Many, many years.
For many years. Mm-hmm. You also said that you were an Army sniper.
I wasn't a sniper in the Army.
Okay.
And I never said that.
Sorry, your wife tweeted that you were an Army sniper.
Yeah, I don't know. Like 15 years ago, she said something.
Does it change 15 years later?
She said that it was colloquial. So
Army sniper is a colloquial term?
Yeah, I was never an Army sniper.
Okay. What did you do in the Army? Did you teach this? She then corrected it and said you taught rifles in the Army?
No, I didn't teach rifle. No, I taught rifles as a private citizen.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I was an NRA instructor for many, many, many years alongside my gun shop.
As with your expertise, when she gave testimony on the stand, Samantha Carner, that there was dust and there was debris that was found in the gun barrel.
Yep.
And then when we had the person who, and this was, I believe, Caitlin Oliver, who explained painfully about the DNA, the prints.
Well, let's start with a point at a time.
I'm not done. You said something, so I'm going to finish my thought, right?
You don't want to do a point at a time?
No, well, sure. If you want to respond to, but I want you to respond to 2 points. I want you to start with 2 points.
Okay.
Dust and debris in the gun barrel.
Yeah.
Secondly, the fact that there were 5 sets of prints, 5 plus actually by the end of the testimony, 5 sets of prints for which we already had the woman who worked for the FBI forensics testify that above 2 prints, if you're taking a sample, it's no longer a science, right? She testified that when they took the sample of what was on the trigger, they saw 5 plus prints. And among those 5 plus prints, Tyler Robinson's was the most degraded. Mm-hmm. So I would like you to explain how Tyler Robinson's prints could be the most degraded when she said, actually, you could have DNA on something that you've touched. You could have DNA on something that you've never touched. And to get DNA degradation, they've looked at pieces, items 20, 40 years on that don't have degradation. Yet Tyler Robinson's prints, amongst 5 plus other prints, were the most degraded on that weapon.
Yeah. So let's get into all 3 of the claims. First, with debris. When it comes to debris, firing a rifle doesn't always blow the debris out of the barrel.
Okay. You think there could be debris and dust.
Yeah.
He just fired the weapon.
Sure.
Degree.
Okay.
Not only that, he left it in a forest. Now, I don't know if you agree with me, but if you leave a rifle in a wooded area, it's also possible that debris could get in that way. But I'm not even sure that that's what the case is. I think it's far more likely that he fired the shot, it just didn't blow all the debris out, and it often doesn't. You'll find this if you take Grandpappy's dirty rifle and it's all dusty inside the bore and you go fire it, you'll often look down the bore and there's still dust.
Okay.
Happens all the time.
Okay. And the prints?
Yeah, so the prints, we don't know all of the details on just yet.
We do. It was excruciatingly long testimony on the prints.
We don't, because they haven't gone to trial, so we don't know on the print front. But Tyler Robinson's DNA was on there. You made the claim that Lance Twig's DNA was on there, and it was not.
Well, when she gave the testimony, no, hold on. First, let's go to your first point, because that's wrong. We can get a fact check on. What do you mean we don't know until it goes to trial about the degraded prints? She testified, and
Yeah.
this is the person who took the prints.
Yes, but the problem is that inside of this particular testimony, you agree with me that there's going to be much more of the DNA analysis during the trial, right?
But you also would agree that her fact is not going to change, that among the prints, his was the most degraded.
Even
so I'm
if-
asking you to
but
address that. How
well,
could that be
here,
possible?
Let's give it, let's just grant this for a second as a possibility that his fingerprints were degraded.
No, it's not a possibility. It's a fact. The
Okay.
person who took
hang
it.
on. I'm just
okay.
granting it for the sake of argument.
You should grant it because it's a fact that
so
she
now,
presented.
So now it's
Okay.
granted. So what?
What do you mean? So what?
Yeah. So what? What does that prove?
It proves that if his prints were the most degraded amongst 5 of them,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have to explain how that's possible if he's the one that recently fired the weapon.
Yeah. So wait a second. You're saying that it's an impossibility that if his fingerprints are the most degraded,
I'm telling you
if
to
that's the
explain it.
case-
You're the gunsmith.
Well,
so
wait a
explain it.
second. How would a gunsmith give an analysis on fingerprints or DNA?
I wasn't a gunsmith, but I worked at FN and I assembled M4s and Scars, Scar H, and all these P20s, and she's expecting him because he has a competency in one area, but she's expecting him to expand that into another and making that an argument. That's a strange way to make an argument, and anybody that knows anything about what she's talking about would know that that's just not an argument. She's trying to get him to contradict himself, but that wouldn't be an argument. But contradiction on a false premise.
You think that I work in a DNA laboratory
So
with
your
fingerprints?
answer is I don't know. You can just say you don't know.
But
You
I
don't
did.
have to.
But I did.
No, you said so what?
Yeah,
so say I don't know.
but
I
what would
actually don't
that-
have an
what would
explanation
that
for that,
prove,
Candace.
though, is my question.
Well, I think that what it would prove is that it is a more viable theory that people who had stronger prints on the gun may have used it more recently.
Did they tell?
To expand out does not make it a more viable theory. To assume something and then to expand out does not make it more likely. That's some sort of fallacy. I don't know. That's just not true.
They say who else had fingerprints on the gun?
They named Matt Robinson explicitly.
Okay.
And this was a part of the testimony where she was speaking about how they got samples of elimination samples from the home of Amber Robinson, Matt Robinson, and Lance Twiggs. Those were the 3 names they named.
So are you saying that Twiggs?
Would you like me to
fingerprints-
finish my statement?
I just want to make sure I'm clarifying.
I'm trying to finish the answer, but it can't be clarified until the answer comes out of my mouth.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
This was a portion of her testimony where she was explaining how they got elimination samples from the home. And she named Matt Robinson, Amber Robinson, and Lance Twiggs as the elimination samples that she was using. And so she explicitly said, some of them, so we can assume 2 out of the 3, were their prints were found on the gun. She explicitly named Matt Robinson as someone who had prints on the gun, and then said there were 5 people that they had taken that sample from. And again, what's also relevant here is the earlier testimony, which came from the FBI forensics analyst, I believe it was on day 2, where she said that when you're using those mixtures and those samples and you get up to 5+, it's really hard to make any sort of a determination. So both of those things are relevant. If you can't explain why his prints are the most degraded and you're saying he is the shooter, it's not really a so what. It's an open-ended question that people have a right to pursue. It's not a conspiracy. It's actually proof of my claim that there is evidence that he was set up as a patsy.
That wouldn't prove anything about him being a patsy.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sort of proof. That's ridiculous. Once again, she takes something that is not even an anomaly, something that is really a normalcy. It's something that she expands something normal, that expands it all the way out for people that don't know the difference, and then creates a theory, doesn't test it, but then comes up with a conclusion based on that. That just doesn't make any sense, really. If you really think about what she's saying, that doesn't make any sense. How do you get from A to B? There is no connection between these two things.
It said it's evidence.
By the way, I'm not trying to be biased, I'm just looking at what she's saying, and that doesn't make any sense, really. If you really think about it, it's attractive. I want to believe it, but it doesn't really hold.
Support the claim that he could have been set up as a patsy.
So this is why I said earlier, so what? Because even if it's the case that this doesn't have an explanation for it yet, that doesn't actually give you any evidence in your corner for Tyler Robinson being a patsy.
Okay,
hang on. I didn't cut you off, right? You would need to actually explain how this would demonstrate Tyler Robinson. This is tied into Robinson being a patsy. Are you claiming that these fingerprints were Lance Twiggs or that he had any DNA there?
I'm saying that it could be Matt Robinson. It could be Amber Robinson. That sort of information is going to come out during the trial.
How would that tie into the idea that he's a patsy?
Yes,
though?
because if his is the most degraded prints and the information that I shared on my platform is true, that this gun was given to Tyler Robinson as an heirloom. I had conversation with members of the Robinson family, Twiggs family, both of them. You know, like I said, we're not just dreaming. And if we're having those conversations and they told me that that gun was only given to Tyler Robinson because it was a family heirloom. Okay, so it was his grandfather's gun or great-grandfather's gun. Okay. I don't remember the difference. I don't remember which one it was. And so he got it because he's the firstborn. So, but he's not much of a shooter, is what I was told. And so he has this because he inherited it, essentially. So if I get something from my grandpa and I put it up on the shelf and I own this, you could see that could be.
How do we get to the patsy part?
You don't let me ever get to the end of the sentence. So how could we get to the patsy part if I can't get to the end of the sentence?
I'll wait patiently till we get to the
patsy part. So that could be a reasonable explanation as to why there was dust in the barrel, because he doesn't often shoot this weapon and he is indeed a fisher. And it could also be a reasonable explanation for why we have Matt Robinson's prints on this. Obviously, Lance Twiggs, even if he has prints on things, they live together. That doesn't really mean anything. But that could demonstrate that somebody took his weapon and put it somewhere. His prints are the most degraded. Somebody else's prints, there's more presence of somebody else's prints, and that could demonstrate that somebody is taking items from his house and putting it into various places. But it also could
demonstrate nothing. So the problem that you have here is that this is pure conjecture.
No,
this is not evidence that Tyler Robinson is a patsy. It's only evidence that you have conjectured up that, if it's the case that these are the more degraded prints, then therefore that means must be patsy because dad's fingerprints on gun.
That's exactly right. She's expanding out an idea to lump all of these other things into it. And people that don't know the difference, that aren't thinking logically, they just want to believe, are falling into it, saying, it's all these different things. And I think there's a left-wing move to it. I think that there's some manipulation because I don't want to get too much into this, but you think about the ICE raids. Well, Israel is training the ICE agents. That's a pretty damn good way to get people to be against the ICE raids, even people that voted for Trump and want the illegals out of the country. It's a pretty damn good way to expand out and say, okay, ICE raids bad. So it's an expanding mechanism. It's a manipulation mechanism. I'm not saying she's doing the manipulating. I'm saying that the manipulation comes from all different angles. So
didn't say must be
describe how this actually links in to Robinson being a patsy.
Okay, I just described that for you, so I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you, so I'm going to move on from that. But to just go back to your point about this is not evidence, you can't make that claim because the entire basis for why you think that there's evidence for Tyler Robinson being the person that took the shot is based off of a hearing under Utah 1102 rules, meaning that they are doing the exact same thing that I am doing. This is the state. You said you're here to represent the state. Well, did you watch the preliminary hearing?
I didn't say I was here to represent the state.
The state's position you think is strong and convincing.
What I'm here to do is represent my own opinion.
You said in your opening statement,
based on the evidence presented so far by the state.
The state has presented evidence under Utah's 1102 rule.
But this doesn't demonstrate any patsy behavior.
No, that's very important because that rule is hearsay. So you can't say at the same time, Candace, you're not allowed to. And what that means under the Utah rule, which I'm sure you know, because I'm sure you watched the preliminary hearing and yourself understand what that means, is that the entire hearing was hearsay. It means none of that information that was presented is going to be allowed. The majority of it, the overwhelming majority of it is not going to be allowed at the trial. They're allowed to present when it's just a probative hearing.
I don't think all the evidence that was put in was hearsay.
Okay, you didn't watch this case.
But not only that,
no. This is a huge point. This is crazy. crazy
we
that you
can
don't
call
know
for a
this.
fact check if
Yes,
all the
well, we
evidence
need
was
more than a
put
fact
in.
check. This was every single
The team
day.
in the back is
Utah
actually
Rule
saying they want to
1102.
go there. So they said there's a medical examiner's explanation of the shooting that's in the back. Rob, if you want to pull it up, and then Candace, if anybody from your team wants to pull something up, no problem as well. But they're requesting it. If you guys got it, pull it up so we can show it. And in the interim, is that it?
Yeah. So I'll read this.
Just what are we looking at, just so we know?
Yeah, so this says the bullet, or at least part of it, sequentially perforated the interior left of Mr. Kirk's neck, strap muscles of the left side of the neck. This is a summary, by the way. Left common cartoid on the left internal external jugular veins. The bullet also obliterated the left side C27 vertebrae, transacted the cervical spinal cord. Medical examiner observed a significant portion of Kirk's.
Sorry you guys can't see the bottom part. I'm in the way, but he's going to read it anyway.
Cervical spinal cord was traumatically absent. Mr. Kirk suffered from other severe injuries, including bilateral, apical, and posterior.
You know, watching this and seeing the descriptions, it's kind of depressing because I didn't agree with Charlie Kirk on everything, but to read this is kind of it's an abstract representation of how fallen the world is. The fact that Charlie Kirk is dead is just kind of crazy to me. It's impacting.
Intercausal hemorrhages, pulmonary, apical hemorrhages, multiple disruptions to the thyroid, et cetera, et cetera. So the summary of the examination is that he was shot.
Okay.
That was what they were pulling that up for.
Okay, and I'm not disputing that he could have been hit with a projectile. We're not disputing that, so I don't know why this was brought up as a fact check. Could you bring up 1102 Utah Rule? Because this is an unbelievable point that you're making by saying that
She's shifting from everything that she's said on her podcast and on other podcasts. She's shifting. She's moving the goalpost. I just get a completely dishonest vibe, and I know we're not supposed to go off feelings because that's what she's doing basically, but she just seems, she's smart but she's dishonest. I don't know, everything she's claiming she's sort of backing away from and then presenting a different view. I don't know, and I'm going to try to be on her side in a little bit, maybe if she presents something that's reasonable. But I mean, my God, man, this is.
I am not allowed to infer off of evidence.
You can infer. I'm trying to follow the inference.
But your entire reason, like you asserted that you believe there's overwhelming evidence on the basis of what we saw in the preliminary hearing. The entire preliminary hearing was hearsay.
Yeah, I'm fine with your inferences.
But no, you just literally said I couldn't do that. Yes, I can.
No, I didn't. I'm just saying from your inference, how do we get to Patsy?
This is how you got to Shooter. The Tyler Robinson did it the same way that you got to Tyler Robinson.
From that.
Yes, you did. You again, this is something important, so we should pull up a fact check about what the 1102 Utah, and under their constitution, for the sake of a preliminary hearing, they do not have to have hard evidence. They don't have to put people on the trial, swear them in.
Have to.
But no, that's why the entire hearing was basically hearsay. Officer Bagley was saying.
But not all of it, like I said.
The overwhelming majority,
again, no
I mean,
dispute.
outside of the one that you don't want to give. Please don't cut me off.
Though.
Outside of, no, that is what's in dispute. It means that your entire brand of saying you don't have evidence falls apart when the entire preliminary hearing is based off of hearsay. In fact, Lance's testimony before they had about an hour debate, actually maybe it was more than an hour debate before he sat, and they said, this is not going to be allowed. You wouldn't even be allowed to do this. We'd be able to cross-examine him. The questions that they're asking Lance are all leading. And what did he say? Well, I'm the magistrate under Utah Constitution.
This bitch, she's just making shit up. What are you talking about? And she's being a total bitch. I don't understand. I want to be on her side. I like her a lot. I want to be on her side, but she is playing a mind trick on people. Psychosis, man.
1102, it is my job to allow all of this so we can see if the state has enough here that we can then move to a trial, which will then, they would not allow this stuff. They would say we get to cross-examine Lance. Lance
But
just
you're
can't
arguing
willy-nilly
things I'm not
say,
disputing.
but the entire substance of your argument is that people can't infer off of evidence.
No,
That's what you're saying
it's
to me.
not.
When you say, Candace,
Here,
you
I'll
can't
give you
talk
the
about the degraded
argument
prints, which is a
now.
fact.
Yeah, I'm not
and then
saying
infer
that.
off of that
Didn't say that.
Tyler could have been a patsy.
You're just
telling
literally
you,
making stuff up. So
I'm
here's
not
what the
making stuff
position
up.
is.
I'm
I'm
not making
asking
stuff
this.
up.
By the way,
I'm
I have
saying
Rule 1102
that
ready
I
if you
thank
wanna
you.
read
Let's
it.
pull that up.
Just
Let's pull
pull
that
out
up. I'm
1102.
doing
Get there from the
exactly what the
inference.
state did. I
Okay.
am looking at a piece of evidence, and I am saying.
But you're not showing me how you get there
Can you
from the
describe to the
inference.
audience what
Yes.
Rule 1102
So this,
means?
just so everybody who's watching this at home understands what I'm saying, even if he doesn't. What Andrew is arguing is that I don't have the right to extrapolate from
Never
a
made that
fact
argument.
like
Just making it up. Just purely making it up. I'm asking based on
Andrew.
based on
Can I
your
show my evidence? You
inference.
just showed yours. Reliable hearsay.
You'll get a chance.
Reliable hearsay in criminal preliminary examinations. The entire preliminary hearing that you just saw was on the basis of reliable hearsay. And what that means essentially is the people who are making the statements can just say, Patrick told me that he did this on Monday. Patrick's not here. And that is, they can allow that into the hearing. That's just because it's just meant to be probative. And so it's the state saying, here's what we have inferred. So you are allowed to take a piece of evidence and then you are allowed to infer off of that evidence. Okay. Case in
Thing
point, that's a
nobody's
demonstration
disputing.
that's a demonstration of what I just did. I said the prints were the most degraded off of Tyler Robinson. And from that, what I am inferring is that it's plausible that Tyler Robinson was set up.
That doesn't.
Okay?
That's the point in contention.
That's not a point in contention. That's
the point in contention.
It's not a point in contention. If you're saying it's a
It
point,
is the point in contention.
It's not the point in contention. I'm telling you that was what the entire hearing allowed for. So the evidence that
Great,
he is
but we're
describing,
asking you
that
now.
he is using to argue his case, is all based on inference, not fact.
Great.
Inference, not fact.
We're
so what they
just-
are inferring off of the facts.
So again, we're going to take this, and I'm just going to even grant it because it's irrelevant. I'm asking how you get to the inference that even if you dispute that piece of evidence, that means patsy. I'm looking for the logical chain for how you get to that inference.
What I am telling you is it's the exact same way that when you tweeted, I think that this evidence is overwhelming. When they say that looks like Tyler Robinson's car, he drives a similar car.
Martin Luther said, I want to make Moses so German that no one would suspect he was a Jew. Now that can sound controversial.
Now, I've seen this ad so many times. This is bought out. This is bought out by Israel. That's what this is. Listen to what he says. I hate to go into this, but
The Western world sits at its basis with a grounding of Judeo-Christian ethics. All people have intrinsic.
you hear that? All people have intrinsic value, yes, but it's not Judeo-Christian. Judeo and Christian conflict, because if we were 2,000 years, 2,200 years in the past, it would be Judeo-Christian. But today, no. Judeo means something else. But anyway, I'm going to skip this. That's crazy.
Okay. They are inferring that that's Tyler
Can
Robinson.
you walk me through the inference
The
so that I
infer-
understand?
By the way, the move from A to B is not the same when it comes from Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk was a patsy to Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk, therefore he's the killer. That's a false soliloquy. That's what that is.
It's not a fact. It's not a fact. When you show a blurry image, which you kept citing that we
No,
have
I'm
images.
talking about your inference that the fingerprints, even if they're degraded, equals patsy. How do you get that inference?
I didn't say it equals patsy. I think it is enough evidence that it should be explored, which is exactly what this preliminary was in the
but
inverse.
That's not in dispute. What's in dispute is when you said, I'm using this as evidence that he could have been a patsy. I'm asking, how do you get the inference to patsy from that?
Because what I am saying is that it shows that somebody else had more DNA presence on that gun than Tyler Robinson did. So it is plausible, which is all they're doing. They're presenting plausibility based off of the facts. Okay. It is plausible that somebody just took his gun and put it there. That's it.
Is there equally
that's how it works.
And is there equally 100 other plausible explanations?
I think that's the reason why most people are exploring when things don't make sense.
Got it.
So yes, at the beginning of that, this is how the court process works.
So
just so we're clear,
if there's
this is the
100 other
state's evidence,
plausible
and they're
explanations,
inferring.
then Candace, why is it that we should go with this idea that it was a patsy?
I'm not saying that we should go with the idea that it was a patsy. I am saying that there is.
I thought that was the whole defense, your whole claim
No,
today.
my whole claim was that there is more evidence that he is set up as a patsy.
How does that equal evidence of patsy?
I don't know how many times I can say this. Like I'm saying that I am using the exact same mechanism that you are accepting for some reason in the Utah courtroom.
Yeah.
Right. To say, I'm going to look at the evidence and I'm going to infer an alternative theory. So you just saw the states and you're accepting it. And they have not presented any concrete facts. You listed on your own Twitter that what you found to be convincing was something that looked like his car pulled into the driveway, a blurry image.
No, I didn't.
A standard white guy coming up the steps that could literally be anyone.
This never happened.
Can we get a fact check on that? Can we pull up his tweet where he goes over
I didn't
the
say
four?
that's what convinced me.
When you actually didn't say it's what convinced me, but you said this is the evidence that you found to be overwhelming, and you named, I believe, actually 5 things. I think you said it was his car. You said it was.
Well, there's multitudes of things that I find.
You
to
just
be
said you didn't
compelling
say it, so we're going to
evidence.
get a fact check on that. You
Sure.
did.
Go ahead.
You said the blurry images coming up the steps. Quite literally, when Officer Bagley testified, they talk about when I'm talking about making inference. This is the most I thought was the most absurd testimony I've ever heard. And pardon me, it was actually David Hull. They asked him a question. How did you know the guy in the maroon shirt was the same as the guy that came up the stairs later that was wearing the American flag black shirt? And he said, they're wearing the same shoes.
Why is that absurd?
That's how you decided these two are the same people. Oh, wow. What a scientific. They're both wearing Converses. Okay. That's an absurd thing to say. That is not evidence that these are the same people if we're both wearing Converses. That was what he said. That's what flew on the stand.
But I still don't understand how that would be absurd. If somebody,
it's an absurd thing.
For instance, if somebody were to change their clothes but keep the same shoes on, wouldn't you utilize the shoes to try to track that person? If
The
they were changing
idea
their
that on a
clothes?
college campus, 2 people wearing this totally different outfits, but both wearing Converses.
I get her point that from a meta view, that if people are wearing the same shoes doesn't mean they're the same person. But if you're going to change your clothes, I don't know. Clothes are much more easy to conceal to keep than shoes. If you're trying to put shoes in a book bag or something like that, I don't think that's a good argument on her point.
Can't happen is such an absurdity that I don't even need to argue that. I'm just going to let people deal. Why is it absurd? Just concede that point. Obviously, it's an absurd thing to say.
I'm not
I know
sure,
these are the same people because they're both wearing Converse.
Yeah, I'm not sure if in context that's what happened. But
It
even
is.
if it
You
is,
can get a fact check on it.
But even if it is, again,
And it was
if
Hull.
we're utilizing inferences, whenever we're dealing with logic and we're dealing with making a logical inference, we're going to take the entire collaboration of evidence and then we're going to make inferences from that. You would do that with any type of logical proposition. Otherwise, you could never have a true or false claim.
But you just told me I couldn't.
So
do
when
that.
that never happened. You're just making stuff up. So anyway, when we're talking about logical inferences, what I'm looking for is the logical inferences that you have that Tyler Robinson's a patsy based on the totality of evidence that you have.
We can keep going through your other evidence.
I'm going to throw something on the stove for food because I'm hungry, but I'm going to let this play through. Y'all stay in. Comment, like it. If you're watching, like it. What's wrong with you? Whatever.
We should find his tweet where he lists the reasons that he was convinced.
So let's start with the 30-06. I think that's fine.
Your team's looking for. Do you remember how long ago that was?
The tweets of the 5. Did you delete it or no?
No, I
Did you
don't
delete
delete
any
tweets.
Okay, cool. Just look for. He said
Unless I
it was his
misspell.
car. It was his. It was the car, and it was definitely the staircase photos, and it was when the trial was going on.
She has it. Perfect. If you got Skylar has it. If you want to pull it up so we can see it.
Somebody said, so give me the clear evidence right here. I want you to provide it right here. All I heard from the investigator was, we believe this to be Tyler Robinson. Is belief something you go as a fact? You wrote the car pulling in. That's a totally blurry image. Robinson getting out of it. You have no idea if that's Tyler Robinson. The fact that he is seen 4 other times on camera. The fact being just a standard white boy with brown hair was seen walking up staircase. The DNA on the roof, we should discuss that. And on the screwdriver that he left behind, it's overwhelming, man.
Yeah, but that's not an exhaustive list.
Well, just so we're clear, you did tweet it.
But it's not an exhaustive.
Yeah,
well,
but just
you
5
said
seconds ago, you should concede.
You said I only said this one thing and said that was overwhelming, actually.
That's not what I said.
It is. You could even
Patrick,
pull your
did
own
I
clip.
say that?
Can you fact check if that was said or not? I did not hear her say
So the
this.
thing that's funny here is like we still aren't getting to any of these inferences. So
Why are you pivoting? But just say you were
I'm
wrong.
not.
It's cool to just say I was wrong. I can say it.
I'm not wrong. So back to the tweet aspect here. It was really funny. That's not an exhaustive list of why I find it.
I didn't say it was exhaustive. I just said you said it.
And on top of well, no, you didn't. You said that I only said this one thing. And then said, based on that, it's over. Well, I didn't. You didn't mention that I mentioned the screwdriver, DNA, all of these other things. You never mentioned any of that. So, no, you're actually incorrect there. But on top of that, moving over to the actual evidence itself.
Are you?
Yes, I'm okay. Anyway, back to the evidence
if you're
itself.
okay.
Yes,
Actually,
I'm fine.
I'm glad you're asserting that you're
But
okay. I wasn't worried about your health. I'm just
but
saying
back
that
to
I
this.
just said you tweeted this. You said no, I didn't. We got a fact check, and now you're like just gonna gaslight me and pretend that I
There's
said
no gaslighting.
It wasn't exhaustive. I never
That is funny. Candace got him right there. Candace did get him. I didn't ask if you were okay.
said that. I just said you did say this.
Zero gaslighting.
I didn't say you couldn't have said more,
Yeah.
but I would like to address what
I mean,
you
this
said
is
in
your
that tweet.
time. If this is how you want to spend it interrogating my position, you can do it that way.
I'm just addressing what you asserted on your Twitter was like the hard evidence that convinced you was overwhelming. That's literally
That's
your debate
not what
claim.
you said. That's not actually, in fact, what happened in that exchange. I was here for it.
So what's your position here?
Yeah, so my position is that based on all of the evidence, which has been demonstrated, at least all the evidence to my knowledge.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete...
The fucking ads, man. What is up?
That I am actually not seeing anything that's compelling as an alternative theory. I'm not seeing anything which is convincing me of something otherwise than what the state is presenting as evidence. That's my position. If
Okay.
that's what you're asking me.
So just going back to what you did actually tweet, is it fair for me to ask questions about that? That's
Is that the
evidence.
only tweet you're going to ask me about?
Well, we're addressing your claim that the evidence is overwhelming, and this is a tweet where you listed what you felt was overwhelming. I think that's fair,
but not
right?
ex-
I feel like
sure,
that's fair,
but not exhaustive. Just so you know.
And I never said it was
Okay.
exhaustive,
Go
even though
ahead.
you said I did.
Sure, whatever you want.
But yeah,
He showed a little bit of weakness. He's trying to back out on his stuff right now. He's saying it's not exhaustive. It's not really a weakness. It's a defensive position.
so going back to that, all of that, as you say to me, well, Candace, why are you addressing and making inferences off of the testimony?
No, I never asked you why. You're making inferences. I asked you how, with the inference you made, you got to the conclusion.
Okay, so I would like to know how you got to the conclusion. And I'm just going to throw it right back at you because
Yeah,
for some
that's
reason
fair.
you permit yourself to do it. And that's what I'm demonstrating is that you permit yourself to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you say, when I do it, it's a conspiracy, right?
No.
How are you able to infer off of blurry staircase images that is Tyler Robinson?
Yeah. So in that particular case, what you do is you take that evidence, you combine it with other evidence. So it's not just that Tyler Robinson is seen in the staircase.
Why are you calling him Tyler Robinson in the staircase? That's what I want to get to.
Yeah, because, I mean, we'll just use this. If you don't agree that that's Tyler Robinson, then you would just have to humor me. I think it is, so I'm using the name.
But why do you think it is? Because you
I'm
make
trying-
everybody, you
that's
call them
literally what I'm
conspiracy
trying to
theorists.
explain to you.
Okay.
So if you're asking for my inference why I think it's Tyler Robinson is because Tyler Robinson said in his text messages, you'll be able to see me on security footage at the campus. Said it in his own messages. On top of that, Twigs, yes, you can pull them up if you want to fact check that. He did say. On
Yeah, I
top
would.
of
I'm
that,
sorry. I actually think I really did miss that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I
Yeah.
don't remember him saying you're going to see me in.
I'm
in
paraphrasing.
footage.
Can
but
we
it was
pull that
close to
up?
it.
Yeah,
If
I
you
don't-
may
I feel-
have
I
it.
think
if
And
you
that's
by the
not
way,
pull it up.
Twigs himself said that he
You're
had
gonna see me on the staircase?
Maybe a tiny bit of doubt, but it sure looked like Tyler Robinson inside of this various surveillance footage that he saw.
So Lance, sorry.
Hang
Go
on.
ahead. You're
hang on.
right.
So there's multiple reasons why it is that I believe that that's Tyler Robinson,
Mm-hmm.
not just because of blurry footage.
Did you have a dream? Just kidding.
No, it's because I combined multitudes
Sorry.
of.
She's making fun of herself. This is the craziest thing ever because it's literally conspiracy theory on the left there that you see, and evidence on the right. I mean, that's just what this comes down to. Regardless of what you think about any of it, whether you want to fall into the sensationalism of it, it's just there's evidence, there's conspiracy theory. I'm not saying that like all conspiracy theories are wrong or bad or evil or whatever, but I'm saying that the conspiracy theory is based on nothing. It's not based on anything. She doesn't have any sort of foundation. There's nothing there. Like, you have to have a foundation. Someone would have gotten caught in the middle of all this nonsense and this chaos.
Evidences.
So let's address those multitude of evidences. The first one we're working on a fact check on, because I do not ever remember him tweeting. That's me in the stair. I mean, or
Well, he didn't tweet
texting.
it.
Texting
Yeah.
that's me in the staircase. I think that
I didn't say that. I said I literally didn't. What I said is that he texted over, "You'll be able to see me in footage at UVU," and I'm parafrasing, but that's what he said.
Yeah, could we get a fact check on that?
You
The
can find
second
it.
thing you said was Lance's testimony, and actually what Lance says
We're going to have to remember that fact check.
is I'm not 100%.
I agree.
But in terms of what he wears, again, pointing out the absurdity, he wears Converses, he wears sneakers. If his boyfriend is not 100%, I'd like to understand why Andrew Wilson is overwhelmed by it. That's what I'm trying to get to. And lastly, I would like to remind you that Lance's statement would not be permitted. This was a huge part of the preliminary hearing, that they were leading. All the questions that were asked of him were leading, so they would be struck down at the actual trial.
Shoma said axed. All them questions that was axed. Okay.
And also, I would like to remind you that he got use immunity for that. Use immunity.
I understand.
Which means like...
That happens, by the way, all the time in these cases.
And I'm wondering why it particularly happened for Lance and this testimony. And I would also like to point out that something that's remarkable about this, again, leaning to my perspective, that Lance has a lot more, which I have said many times, Lance has a lot more involvement than the feds are letting us know. I think more is going to come out.
That either.
Because they interviewed him on September 11th. And then for whatever reason, just ahead of what was supposed to be slated as the preliminary hearing, which was initially supposed to be in May, they bring him back to do this interview, which in my opinion should have never been allowed. And I actually agree with the defense that it's a violation of his constitutional rights not to allow them to have cross-examined him. But I understand Utah 1102, do what you do. It's all hearsay. But to allow it in that way for him to just be able to also have use immunity, knowing that he's not going to get in trouble. He could literally get up there and lie about anything, and he's not going to get in trouble because the use immunity was given to him in April, I believe. April 28th is when they gave that testimony to the defense. I think they shot it in like April 20th of 2026. That is not compelling to me for somebody who has use immunity to give a testimony and to say, I'm not really sure, but definitely like he wears jeans and stuff.
That's not what he said.
He did. Actually, you can get a fact check on that.
Yeah, that's
Skyler,
not,
I think
he
you
said
pull
much
it up
more
if you
than
want
that.
to. So a couple things we have. We have Rule 801, Tyler's messages, that says it's not hearsay. But first, go to what Candace is asking about. Skyler, I think you have it. You just texted me if you want to pull it up. You said you have the text.
Let's go.
If we can put that up on the screen. Thank you.
It was me. Look at the pictures from the surveillance footage. It was me. Okay. I literally said to you, it's not an oof.
Okay. So, really, we are an hour and 11 minutes in, and the first piece of evidence that Andrew put up, Candace Owens somewhat disputed but said she wasn't sure, is proven to be in Andrew's court. So, as of now, an hour and 11 minutes in, Andrew 1, Candace Owens 0.
If I said I didn't remember this, and I'm happy to have a fact check on that. Okay. I didn't call for the fact check saying you're wrong. I literally said I don't remember that from the
Well,
time
I'm just saying to you, like, I'm trying to be concise for you.
And then also bring the 801 that you just said. What was the other one?
Yep, the 801. Tyler messages saying it's not hearsay, if you have that as well.
I'm going to write that down as points made. For now, it's Andrew 1. Candace Owens, nothing. That's as of right now. I mean, that's the first real definitive point made. We're an hour in. First one made.
EVE Online is a vast universe.
There you go.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Wait, what are we saying is not hearsay? I thought
Statements
you said
that
the
are not
messages.
hearsay. A statement that meets the following conditions is not hearsay.
It was hearsay. They said it in the trial.
Hang on.
Okay.
Okay. Is consistent with the declarant's testimony, and the declarant denies having made the statement.
I will say that Andrew does not look very confident right now.
Or has forgotten, or is consistent with the declarant's testimony and is offered to rebut the express implied charge that the declarant recently fabricated or acted in recent improper influence or motive in testifying. So then, wouldn't that mean that a bunch of this wasn't hearsay?
So the issue with his
I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Would that mean that a bunch of this wasn't hearsay?
So the opposing party, which down the line, like I said, they talked about this for about an hour and a half, and they discussed how if Lance was in court and he was giving his first party, giving his testimony as the opposing party, whatever, all of this would be fine. They had an issue with how the questions were being asked and that they were not allowed to cross-examine him. Mm-hmm. So that is why his video testimony would not be accepted in the main trial. And what I said to you is this entire preliminary hearing is under Utah's 1102. So they are allowed to just use hearsay. And
No,
so the
you didn't
judge,
say
when
that.
he
You said most of it was hearsay, actually.
Yeah,
The
it was.
overwhelming majority.
Well, I mean, I'm leaning now into my opinion that some scientific aspects, which they kept asserting, like the federal rule 40.
By the way, I want to say ads on top of ads. Are you crazy? You can't drive down the street without seeing billboards of ads. We used to have beauty.
3 or 402. Some of those parts were quite
Sounds
scientific.
like you're backtracking quite a bit.
No, I'm not backtracking at all. What do you feel like let me help you. Where do you feel like I'm backtracking? It literally was done under Utah's 1102.
Yeah, nobody disputed that.
Okay.
What the dispute was is whether or not most of it was overwhelmingly hearsay.
Yes,
is that the case?
it was. Yes, that's
Okay.
a fact. I'm not backtracking on
And
that
what
at all.
are the things-
How many times did you, if you watch the preliminary hearing, it's like they constantly, I'm 1102, 1102, 1102, 1102,
That's true.
1102. And the reason for that is because it's allowed. I'm not saying it's illegal. It's allowed at this stage, but I'm just reminding you that when you're going to sit across from someone and your claim is going to be, where is your hard evidence? This is what I heard and I agree with what I'm watching. You are watching the state put on a hearsay preliminary hearing. And all of those things are not going to be allowed, right? Even when they got into witness statements and things of that nature. There's a reason why they swear you in and they say, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth. Did you, write this statement? So it's the overwhelming majority of what you saw was hearsay because other people were representing other people's statements. They were saying they had conversations. We don't know where it came from. All allowed at this stage. Okay. But it's hearsay. So
but even a lot of that stuff may not fall under hearsay under what we just read, right?
But the evidence that you're speaking about, like when you say that.
I want to say that Candace Owens so far has only made defensive arguments. She has not gone on the offense. Maybe she will. Right now we're at 1 for Andrew, 0 for Candace. She hasn't made any positive evidential claims for what she's saying. Nothing yet. It's only been in favor of Andrew. So I'm waiting for her to make a positive evidential claim that this is what happened and this leans in the direction of Israel or TPUSA or whatever her claim is, that he was a patsy. I'm not seeing that.
We're going off vibes. You don't know Tyler Robinson, okay? His boyfriend is not 100% it was him. So I'm going back to your points that you made that this was overwhelming evidence for you. That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, overwhelming just means
you can't
convincing.
consider another option that there could have been another white guy wearing Converses on campus?
Yeah, do you agree with me that I said that what overwhelming means to me is that it's just very convincing to me?
Yeah, and I find it to be completely unconvincing.
And that's fair.
Because
I understand that
I looked at those blurry photos that they presented and said, your statement on right now is that he's wearing Converses and he also that's just crazy.
But these aren't
to me.
the evidences that I find the most convincing.
Well, you said that in your Twitter.
That's not the only thing I've ever said on my Twitter about this case.
Right, but the question that was asked of you was pretty direct.
Yeah.
Right. What did you find
this
to
is
be?
not an exhaustive list of all the things
Well,
that I
that's
find
not what you said in the
convincing.
tweet. You can tweet longer too. It's not like we're limited now to 240 characters anymore.
Wait, so anything that I tweet and all other tweets that I've ever made are now excluded because I used the word overwhelming in this one.
Well,
even though all of this information I've said so publicly over and over and over again is what informs my position for why I'm convinced on the case. That's bizarre to me.
I feel like this is Andrew versus Andrew. Somebody asked you a question. What are the points that you find to be the most overwhelming? And you answered.
You mean from that day, from that particular day of the hearing that I was responding to?
Okay, this is something you find to be more overwhelming? Let me ask you that question.
Yes,
okay,
that's what I was saying.
Okay, go ahead. Go on. What do you find to be more overwhelming?
Yeah.
Can we do this? Do we want to get into it, or do we want to do a quick ad break? Are you guys good to keep going, or
I'm fine to keep going, but we can also.
Would you like to take a quick break?
Doesn't matter to me either
if
way.
we're going into a different topic, that may be another 30 minutes.
Dude, are you kidding me? Another ad? I just had 5 ads from YouTube, and he's about to do an ad break? This is the type of shit that makes me think it's all fake. I just spit everywhere because I'm so upset.
40 minutes. I don't want to stop you guys in the middle of it.
Let's
So
end it on what you
to
find
do?
to be more overwhelming.
Yeah. So if for me, it's the confessions, the text messages, all of that is what I consider to be, from my opinion, that's the most convincing for me.
Okay, we should discuss.
I'm going to keep going with it, but you may have already heard me. I don't know if you could. I'm going to get up.
The text message confessions when we get back, if you'd like to.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea. Folks, we're going to take a quick ad break. We will be back in 3.5 minutes. Thank you.
All right, you guys, for nearly 2,000 years, Christians
When
have
we
lived
set out to
continuously
create
in
a
a small
shoe that
village
blends-
just
No, I'm skipping all this bullshit, bro. We'll be right back.
If you're building a home gym right now, you probably think that you need dumbbells, barbells, squat rack, all this different stuff, but after
This is why capitalism is failing. What the fuck? You got this faggot? I don't know. And that faggot. That one there too. All right. Let's start it back up. I think it should be. Whoa. That is crazy.
If you're watching Candace, I think there's 225 to 250,000 concurrent right now. We'd like to see that 300, 400,000 number on there. Click that button as well to subscribe and share it with your friends and family. And if you're watching it on PBD Podcast, do the same there as well. This allows us to have more conversations like this. The mainstream media hates the fact that we're having these conversations right now. Just so you know, they want to control it. This is free for all. This is what's best for the audience. That's why we like freedom of speech. Having said that, let's go back into the text conversation you were having, right?
Okay.
Let's stay there, and then we'll go into the cross-examination stuff in about 30 minutes.
Okay. That sounds fair. Okay. So yeah, I used basically 3 pillars for the totality of the evidence. Okay. So if you want to know exactly what those 3 pillars are, this is going to be the testimony with the text messages and the confessions. This is going to be the physical evidence, and this is going to be the totality of the summary of the case. Okay. So right now we're focusing on one of these pillars in my defense, which is fine. I understand that I have to defend my claims as well. So when we're talking about the messages themselves, they seem totally valid. I have no idea why they wouldn't be valid. And I have not heard any good explanation for why it is that these messages should even be questioned. The defense hasn't questioned them, as far as I'm aware. Nobody has actually questioned that these messages came from Robinson to date, except perhaps you and other people who are kind of in that camp. But why should I question these exactly? I'm not sure.
Okay, so first let's just go over legally what the point is of a probative hearing. The defense is not they're not there to say or to argue or to defend themselves at all. They have to address what is being presented by the state. Okay. So they're not here to then say, let me give you an explanation for these text messages.
Agreed.
The relevant portion of what the defense did do was actually before we got to the preliminary hearing. I had mentioned that it was initially supposed to be scheduled for some time in May. They asked for an extension. That reading through those filings of why they were requesting an extension and why I actually believe their extension should have been granted.
I made a steak with fries and toast, and I burned the toast. All right.
Because they did not receive discovery on their text messages. That was one of the reasons. There were many reasons why they wanted to have an extension, but this was crucial, right? So forget just the general sense that these messages feel off. And yes, you are allowed to have an intuition. You are allowed to have a sense and just go, this is very weird. We're being told this kid had like above a 4.0, Tyler Robinson. He wanted to get away. I mean, the text messages almost run head to head with themselves. Like he wanted to get away with it. So he thought the best thing to do would be to text a full confession of what he did, down to what I didn't even remember, saying, yeah, and that's also me in the surveillance footage. It felt a little too on the nose. People have common sense. You just don't text message. But then we're also supposed to believe that he put a note under and burn this and get rid of the evidence. But don't worry about that because I'm about to text you a full confession. That it felt off. It felt weird off the bat. The manner in which they were texting, we're told he's like a gamer who's using a Dremel to carve expressions, catch fascist. But then suddenly he's writing like a 1700
also, as a Helldivers
novelist.
player, he did actually get the 500K code correct.
Yeah, I'm not a gamer, so we'll say that if we start debating that, you'll be way over my head.
But yes,
but my point being
yeah.
is just that, first, it's a general sense of why people had a reaction to these messages that seemed like they were written by Jane Austen rather than like a kid who games and writes catch.
Yeah, but do you see how
fastest.
that's intuition?
That is, I am. I just said that. I said just parking aside the intuition of just something feels wrong here, which you should follow your intuition. You should actually do that. If you say the COVID vaccine is running.
Very Protestant. I hate to bring theology into it, and I'm eating, but that's a very Protestant view. It's a very my interpretation, my feelings, no, we should look at authority, not all authority, but we should look at who is best equipped to interpret. Maybe that's something to think about. Even if you're like me, you hate authority. So even if you have a bias away from that, something to think about.
Out feels like it's coming out too fast and there's too many celebrities telling me to do it. I'd like to take a pause. That's good. That is, you are allowed to do that. I believe in intuition.
But hang on. Let me respond a little bit here because you've been going for a minute. Let me at least respond to a little bit of this. So the first thing is like when people bring up the COVID vaccine, not trusting the COVID vaccine en masse was the science. That wasn't just intuition. That was the science. There was tons of competing science. Now they tried to suppress it. That's true. But there was tons of competing science for why you shouldn't take a risky mRNA vaccine and mass and things like this.
Kept telling us was 100%.
Now, when you're talking about intuition, though, when you say trust your intuition, I'm actually giving a different message. You actually should be very wary about trusting just your intuition. It is true that intuition can be useful, but it has to be tempered with logic, reason, explanatory power, and evidence, not just intuition.
That's why we're parking it aside. Intuition's the first step. Something feels off, right?
Okay.
That was my first step with COVID. I don't like the way it's being pushed. It shouldn't require a celebrity campaign, by the way. Another element of that is why people don't feel good about the Charlie thing. Why do we have so many influencers saying things? It's over. Why are you guys all using the same adjective? Can you switch it up? I'm overwhelmed. Like, chill. Like, you could say, I found some
kind
parts compelling. I think this should go. I found some parts compelling. Maybe we should, see at the trial. That would be
Don't you think Fed slop's a buzzword for the counter industry?
But everyone on the same day of watching this trial, which was, I would say, not overwhelming at all.
I don't like how his feet are shaking. He's anticipating something. I don't think it's worry. I think it's anticipation. Look at his foot.
Nobody came in medium, right? No one came in like there were some interesting aspects. This was a little suspect. But I do think it's enough to go to trial. They all came in like they were passing away and we're going to die from being overwhelmed.
Well, they're trusting their intuition.
Okay. Well, actually, in that scenario, they're looking at the preliminary hearing and have a reaction to it. It wasn't their intuition. But like I said, parking aside, just getting to the substance, parking that aside, aside, just a general intuition that some might be text messages. Then we look at the filings, which came from the defense, and they were requesting an extension saying, we have gone to the prosecution and we have requested all of this stuff in discovery. Yes, you are saying that you took Lance's phone, okay, and that you collected his phone on September 11th and that you sent it off or whatever. You took a picture of the text messages and we are being given these text messages to review. Crucially, Kathy Nestor said, I have not even been given access to my client's phone during this hearing. She said, I haven't even been given access to my client's phone. She can't tell you, as a part of their discovery request, it's not enough to say to me, Candace, I just got a text message from Candace, and I say, I didn't send that text message. Maybe that's what her client's saying. We don't know because we're not at the trial, right? Maybe he didn't send those messages. Could there be someone who logged into his Discord? Could there be someone who logged in to his Apple? George could be sending text messages right now. We are married. He has every login that I have. And remember, he's up for a death sentence. So if I'm able to sow reasonable doubt with common sense, he may.
What? Oh, Taylor Robinson, not George Farmer. Jesus.
Come during the trial, and when they actually have to address these points, say, I did not write those messages. I was here. Lance, my boyfriend, was logged into my phone, logged into my Apple ID and my iCloud sending messages. I know that we have the capability because my husband does it. He has the capability to send messages from my phone. It is not convincing to the public when, for whatever reason, the FBI combined with the SBI, it was not the prosecution's fault. They made that clear during that hearing, would not allow them that discovery request to be able to see where did that message come from? Because you're saying my client was here, right? I want to know if that message actually was generated from his iPhone when he was waiting to retrieve his, rifle.
I see there's 34 of you guys watching. Like my stuff, man. What's up? Help a nigga out. I'm trying to grow my channel and get my podcast going. Come on, help me out. Like it. I'll be sick if I just see 34 likes on this. That'd be awesome. Whatever. I'm not going to grift, but like it.
Hoping that the pooch doesn't have a bad sniffer, like just weird messages. I want to make sure that, yes, it was actually him. He was holding his phone and his boyfriend didn't just log in to his computer when he was home. Lance was his boyfriend. That is a crucial fact here. That discovery was not met by the time we got to preliminary hearing. So I remain unconvinced by these text messages. Just as you feel convinced by them, I feel unconvinced by them.
Okay. So then the idea here is the reason that you don't think that these are valid text messages, and you don't, right?
It has not been proven that these messages are valid, and they don't sound valid to me. Mm-hmm. I don't think anyone, even if someone was selling like a, I don't know, pot on the corner, would be smarter than to write a full-fledged confession. He even writes, I thought I would get away with it, and I was hoping never to tell you until old age. And then we're being told that he wanted to commit suicide. And okay, but he just said he.
But when you do something that big, that extravagant, then it's got to be known that you're going to get caught. Imagine doing something like that. You want to let somebody know. That's just, I don't know. I don't think that's a good argument.
Wanted to get away with it, but he's not smart enough to, I don't know, maybe not text it's such a confession like we've never seen. I think this would be like the first time ever somebody has start to finish written an entire, I'm in this surveillance footage and I'm here and I'm wearing my Converse. I'm being a little facetious here, but it was a little ridiculous. It didn't pass a sniff test for me.
You have kids. And you love them more than anything.
I do.
If it was the case that you thought that your kid was innocent, wouldn't you be out telling everybody and their brother that you thought that they were innocent? And also, wouldn't you maybe recant and say, hey, he didn't actually confess to me. None of this happened the way that state is presenting it. What would have prevented the parents from testifying?
Well, two things. I can answer that. And if you watch my show, I keep telling you it's not vibes. So right after the shooting happened, Lance Twiggs, the FBI put him into a safe house they paid for. They went to the parents as well, to Matt Robinson and Amber, basically said, your life's at risk. There could be somebody who jumps up and wants to avenge Charlie Kirk. And, we're going to watch you. And they went into a federal safe house. What happened next is that they started thinking that the feds were maybe gonna, maybe not as honest as they thought. And
how do you know any of that?
So you gotta watch the show, right?
Yeah, no. How do you know that?
I had a source within the Robinson family.
You have a source, an anonymous source, of course. So there's no way for us to verify that what you're saying right now is actually even true.
Do you find it to be reliable hearsay?
No, I don't find it to be reliable at all. It's just a source.
I'm just doing what the prosecution
What you're doing
did.
is a cool story.
It's not cool. Well, you must have hated watching the preliminary hearing.
You're giving us a cool story.
Wait,
you're saying that according to...
I think I've got to give Andrew one more, because that's exactly right. You can make something up and say a source. I got to give Andrew one more. Candace 0, Andrew 2. Maybe she'll get more. Who knows? But that's exactly right. No evidence, nothing, a source, an anonymous source. I could come to you right now and say, anonymous source, this and that. Doesn't mean anything.
To your sources, that the reason that the parents haven't recanted any of this...
Recanted what? They have no statement from the parents.
Wait, I just want to make sure that if it was the case that was being reported in mainstream media, that your father came to you and said, hey, is this you? What's going on here? And then he and one of his buddies took you in where you turned yourself in. You wouldn't go out and be like, no, that's not what happened.
That isn't what happened, though. You're just wrong on this.
Okay, maybe I'm paraphrasing. What am I wrong on?
So what is sorry, just so I'm clear, where is your evidence that the parents turned him in?
Well, no. I didn't say that.
You said there's the mainstream media?
I said with a sheriff friend.
Yes.
But the father did confront him.
The father confronted what?
Tyler Robinson.
And where did you learn this? That the Tyler confronted him?
That's part of the official documents. Our fact checkers can pull that up. But yes.
But I'm saying, when you say official documents, do you mean you saw this on CNN or you saw this play out in the hearing?
No, this was one of the things that I went through and fact check pre-debate.
Are you talking about the charging documents?
I think it was it could have been in the charging documents, but we can pull them up.
No.
And yes, are you disputing this?
Do we have that on the back to pull it up?
I can already tell you what you're talking about, the charging documents, because this is where we had to figure out where this story came from, because everyone was operating under the assumption that Matt Robinson turned him in. Until we got to the preliminary hearing and we understood, like I said, even for that, when you are charging someone, you can use hearsay. It's all probative, right?
Sure.
Nothing. So they didn't have statements. It's not like Matt Robinson, even though he was interviewed that night. Amber Robinson was interviewed that night by a Fed, separate rooms. Tyler Robinson was interviewed by a Fed. They did not produce statements saying, my son did this. I believe my son did this. But what happened was they did interviews, but also the crucial person here who you just brought up is Mike Mitchell. Mike Mitchell is the biggest unknown in this entire case. Everyone keeps saying they heard from Mike Mitchell this, they heard from Mike Mitchell that. So when the person wrote up the report that night, and it was Brian Davis who wrote up what became the charging document, he after they transported Tyler Robinson from the Washington Sheriff's County office up to, I think it's Salt Lake City, I think it was 4 a.m. in the morning that they got up there. He then writes the what becomes a charging document. So he's basically saying, we all spoke to a bunch of people and here's the information that we got, right? We've not seen that. So it could have come from Mike Mitchell. Mike Mitchell could be saying...
I don't know how this negates the point, though.
Why wouldn't the negates the point, because you don't have a statement from the parents. You are going...
Why wouldn't they just correct the
it's not correcting.
misinformation?
That doesn't negate the point. The point is that we now got the preliminary hearing. If the parents were the ones who said, I'm turning my son in because he's guilty.
I didn't say they turned him in.
I think you're talking about the over. You said it's been the narrative. Everybody's known this. The narrative initially, which I think you agree with, was that, Matt Robinson knew his kid was guilty and turned him into the police station. What actually happened in terms of Sheriff Brooksby, who was present there and gave a press conference, what happened was this Mike Mitchell character essentially peer pressured him, and we can get a fact check on this. We can find Sheriff Brooksby's press conference. And he said, they know it's you and you're going to come in peaceably, or people are going to be banging down your door. He was a undercover cop, which I don't like that. I don't know what he did undercover. It's very hard to find anything about Mike Mitchell, but he worked with them for 20 plus years, the police officers. The reason why Tyler Robinson knew him was because he lived nearby and he was also his Boy Scout leader.
How does this negate that the parents could write this second? And by the way, if you had the evidence, I'm going to address that
point. I'm just saying that your first point, which is that the parents did this.
Yeah.
We don't know that the parents.
I didn't say that they did ever. Never happened.
Andrew is extremely anxious right now. I think it's anticipation because Candace is making claims that are almost impossible to refute because they're like outside of the realm of not possibility, but they're outside of the realm of what's even expected. They're so unexpected and so random that he's like, I don't even know how to grapple with these claims. I mean, that's what it seems like to me anyway, is like she's making claims that are like making him jump from one thing to another. Look how anxious he is. Watch his foot. Watch his left foot.
You're quoting the parents as having said, you said that Matt Robinson said that his kid was, you say involved? I don't want to misquote you.
Confronted him about it.
Confronted him.
Yes.
And I'm telling you that we have not seen any evidence that that is true.
We can fact check that.
Okay.
Because we do have evidence that
and
that's
I'm saying
true.
it's the charging doc, which could have been derived from a statement Mike Mitchell said.
Two things I have ready in the back. One is the charging doc, and the other one is a video of Kathy Nestor saying she hasn't seen Tyler's phone.
Okay, we can run Kathy to go back, and then
first?
just to
You
go
wanna see
backwards
Kathy
to,
first?
Kathy first in court saying she didn't get her client's phone. Yeah, and then I think we'll go to the, if you're okay with that.
A thing not in dispute. These are all things that I'm not even disputing.
Okay, so we don't have to show it.
We never get to the thing that I am disputing.
Well, I was just providing an answer. We were coming back in from a break because you were talking about the text messages as something that you felt was concrete. So it was just my rebuttal to you that it's not concrete because they haven't had a chance to actually answer that. And she didn't even get to see your client's phone. So that's effectively, again, the state saying these messages are real. You don't get the discovery on these messages just yet.
That kind of means nothing, though. I don't know what point she's trying to make. She's not following the logical line of the conversation. She's going off on huge tangents and acting like it's part of the conversation. He's not disputing her on those facts that she's stating, but she's pretending that he is. Very strange.
He will during trial. They will actually get
Don't
discovery
you
on the
think
messages.
that would make their case fall apart if it was the case that they weren't able to actually pull the data off the text messages? Do you think the prosecution would go to court with fabricated text messages?
It's called winners and losers. They may not be fabricated, but by the way, as what they are saying, like I said, if there was somebody logged into his phone, they may not be fabricated. That's the point.
So let's get to the
they just could be somebody else.
The parents fact check. That was
so
the
I
other
was
one,
saying,
right?
I believe what you're talking about was derived from the charging doc, which was signed off by Brian Davis.
Let's pull it up.
Let's see if that's correct.
Have you ever wanted to see your home from space? With this free satellite Earth Maps tool, you can zoom right down to your exact address in just seconds. Imagine pulling up your neighborhood, spotting your roof, your street, even the landmarks around you, all in real time.
Even the landmarks around you. The ads are fucking crazy.
What are we looking at
Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, I'm sorry.
Can you zoom in a little bit?
Is this the charging
I
doc?
can't see it.
Lucky.
Robinson's
yes.
father reported that when his wife showed him the surveillance image of the suspected shooter in the news, he agreed that it looked like their son. He also believed that the rifle that police suspected the shooter used matched the rifle that was given to his son as a gift. As a result, Robinson's father contacted his son and asked him to send a photo of the rifle, which makes sense with the text messages. Robinson did not respond. However, Robinson's father spoke on the phone with Robinson. Robinson implied he planned to take his own life. Robinson's parents were able to convince him to meet at their home.
Yes. So this is proving my point. This is from the charging document, correct? Yeah. So what I'm saying to you is that 3 people got interviewed on that night. Mike Mitchell got interviewed, Amber Robinson got interviewed, and Matt Robinson got interviewed. Of the 3 of them, only one of them actually wrote a statement, which was referred to in this preliminary trial. He came in, I believe, in March, Mike Mitchell, and he wrote a statement, which I find to be very shady that they decided to bring.
But why aren't the parents disputing that?
No. Well, first off,
that's the question
First
I've
off,
been
the
asking.
parents are not going to ever play in court play to the cameras in court when they have a legal team that is going to be advising them not to speak to the court because your son could go to prison
But
forever.
they're playing to somebody else who's your source?
I'm not going to address that.
They're playing to someone else who's your source but won't go publicly tell the media this is not true?
Well, what I did...
A little bit of a corner. He did get her there. Yeah.
Not say to you that I just said I have a source, so I want to be very clear, and take it from somebody who was involved and permanently sued. When I have to take my lawyer's advice, I mean, there's so many things that I want to respond to when people are speaking about.
Yeah, but it's bizarre that they would utilize a source which would get the information to you, but wouldn't just go to the media and be like, actually, that's all wrong.
I am telling you that you would nary find.
That is true because one works in their favor, obviously, the other doesn't. He's making a very good point there.
Find a lawyer who would advise you to go to the media.
This mother,
especially when your son is up for.
I think the reason why he's gaining anxiety, if you look at his foot when he's not talking, it's going crazy. I think he's anticipating that he's about to corner her and it's going to end the debate, but it doesn't happen. Not necessarily. It doesn't. I don't think he's going to get her there because she's too hard-headed. She's too disagreeable. She's not going to get there. But I think he's moving his foot in anticipation.
That my kid
was up for death.
If I thought that my kid was in any way, shape, or form going to be up, you couldn't shut me up. Or my wife, she would be like, that's not true. That's ridiculous. There's no possible. That never happened. These people are lying through their teeth. They'd be public whether you like it or not.
Yeah, that's for you and your wife. But when a judge issues a gag order in a case and your son is up for death, and your lawyers could be advising you that if you say anything, you could blow the case, you would have a more responsible consideration.
I see.
And we're speaking opinion here. You're like, well, I wouldn't care. I'd violate it, and I'd violate the judge's orders and see what would happen.
If you have a source, it seems like they're violating it with them.
I'm not.
Parents with kids would violate anything for their children if they love them. And he seemed to grow up in a pretty conservative household, so I think that's a point on Andrew, but I'm not going to write it down. I'm gonna let it roll.
Speaking to a source, but what I am saying to you is speaking just relevant to what this is. We have not seen any proof that statement that is included in this charging document. I think it is highly likely on the basis of the preliminary hearing that all came from Mike Mitchell, and Mike Mitchell would be a part. He's
based
saying,
on the statements of.
It's him saying the parents told me this. The parents could dispute that. That's going to come down the line, right? They're going to be able to seat the parents. I will say this, putting together context clues. If the state had it on, 100% certainty that Matt Robinson and Amber Robinson said it, a 5-day preliminary hearing would be a good time to say we have enough evidence. And I can tell you why. Matt Robinson made this statement, and here is his statement that he signed. That would have been a good time to present that evidence.
That would also be a good time for the defense to say that's just totally fabricated.
No, it's not. It's the wrong time.
Why couldn't they?
That is completely the wrong time.
Why couldn't they?
Because what they're doing is they already said they didn't receive discovery. They literally can't. They literally can't because they can't. They did not receive discovery.
You're saying that they didn't receive that information?
No. They just received the text messages. But in order to...
That's not the text messages.
The probative information.
Yeah, we're talking about the information that we just reviewed. That's not the text messages.
They never presented it. The state never put it on.
Yeah, they didn't. The defense could easily still have presented this. Yeah,
no,
they could have said they're
no,
they're not allowed to. Are you sure?
In a preliminary hearing,
yeah.
the defense is engaging with whatever evidence the state decides to put on. They did not put this on as evidence. Brian Davis was up there,
so they're not allowed to present anything.
They're responding to the state's evidence.
I'm asking, are they allowed to present anything?
They are allowed to say...
Like if there was a conspiracy that they could prove right then and there, would they present that in one of these hearings?
No, it wouldn't be the right time for that.
I disagree. I think that they not only could do it, but they would do it. In fact, when I talked in depth with my attorney, they said that's exactly, if you had actual evidence that there was fabrications by the feds, that's exactly when you would introduce that.
So when in the document that they filed yesterday or a couple of days ago, the appropriate, like what you're doing at this stage of the hearing is the state is saying we have enough evidence that we think this needs to go forth to trial. Hence the reason that there's this extraordinary We allow hearsay because it doesn't really need to be perfect. It can be enough that we feel like we can move forward, right? And okay, I disagree with that in general when somebody's rotting in prison, but whatever. The next phase is for them to meet in court and for the defense to essentially present an argument to the state that says, we find this filing to be defective in and of itself. We don't even have to defend ourselves because you, the state, have enough, you know what the laws are on the books, and this filing is defective and you should get rid of these charges because they don't make sense based on what you can decide based on a law on the books. So then that's why they then file the dismissal, right? So in the dismissal, what they're doing is they are engaging, and this is what was widely misinterpreted.
Well, yeah, they're engaging as though as it's a hypothetical. If this is hypothetically true, then
so
X.
they're saying all of
but
these
that's
charges.
I'm not disputing any of that.
So that's what you're asking. Why you're saying could they just
what
put
I'm
out-
asking specifically is like who could shut parents up who are like, no way, there's no possible. This never happened. This is ridiculous. They would be shouting it on CNN. They would be shouting it from the rooftops. They would be losing their minds. And you're like, nope, the gag order would be enough to keep them quiet. Not enough for them to talk to your source, but enough to keep them quiet. I think that that's quite ridiculous. But I'll even concede this whole point to you. Let's just say maybe this was misconstrued, right? There's a little bit of reason to doubt it because we're still waiting for the evidence for trial. If that's the case, then why not take the same standard for the evidence that you present? You're just waiting for trial.
Well, you didn't do that.
Wait
That's
a
the reason
second.
we're here.
Wait a second. I just want to make sure that I got this right. That's your argument to me, right?
My argument to you is what?
Your argument to me is that, hey, wait a second, Andrew. There's not enough here that convinces me, right?
Well, that's actually my rebuttal to you, is that you are saying, why are people engaging in what you term to be conspiracy theories?
No.
I term it to be thinking. They're just thinking because they're recognizing there are a lot of holes in these stories and that this is not strong evidence, right? This is the reason they're doing it. I'm explaining to you, this is the reason that they're doing it. I'm addressing what you view to be overwhelming evidence. And by the way, I want to be clear.
That which convinces me.
Every sentence that Nietzsche wrote had an idea in it. Now, as I've got older, I've also understood that Nietzsche was stunningly wrong about many things.
Yeah.
As I've gotten older, it's a bloody shame.
Well, but thus far, every point that you've brought up, every point that you've brought up, did you feel like this is beyond a reasonable doubt? I mean, you realize
remember what I said in my opening.
Going to be.
It's not beyond a reasonable doubt. It's just what I find convincing is what I find overwhelming.
So why are you so upset when people say they don't find it
if
convincing?
That was the limitation of the claims that you made, if it was just, wait a second, there's a little bit of problems. There's some problems in this case that I have questions for that I want answers to. Nobody.
That's exactly right. She went so beyond as to gain a following, well, she didn't need to gain a following. She had a following, but to gain the viewership that she's had, that's what it's really about. That's what this whole underlying argument that's going on, this debate, is what's the monster beneath the ice is that Candace Owens is using Charlie Kirk's death to gain more influence. That's what lies beneath.
Do you have a problem, actually? Least of all me. I would be the least likely person to have an issue with you, any of your fans, anybody saying. In fact, I've had tons of Discord calls about this. My position's always been clear. Of course, conspiracies exist. Some of them have way better evidence than others, but I've seen them myself. I know conspiracy. In fact, the federal government has hundreds of thousands of laws about conspiracies. They see them everywhere. We both know this, right? That's never what the problem is. The problem is when you make claims outside of, well, wait a second. I'm just questioning evidence here. I'm just questioning what the state's case is here. I'm just asking questions. It's when you make claims outside of that, where you claim that there's good evidence or good standards you should believe because, and then it turns out that it's all nonsense or it's wackadoo stuff or it makes no sense. And when we have a chance to cross-examine your evidence that you've presented, I'm going to show a lot of that. A lot of this conjecture that's based on literally nothing, that leads from no inferences whatsoever. Like you couldn't even infer it logically. That's the problem. The problem has never been whether or not you just said, there's not enough in this case so far until we get to the trial. I remain unconvinced. I'm sure there's tons of people who remain unconvinced yet until we get to the trial. I think that's fine. I think it's fine. There's people who are convinced too. That's never been my problem. My problem is the claims which are external to that.
Okay. I'm not sure I really care if you have a problem with what I think in my own spare time. I don't understand this lecture that you just gave.
He's expressing the reason that they're sitting there now. It's not the fact that he has a problem. By him saying he has a problem, he's saying the reason why he's there now and has spoken up on Joe Rogan's podcast and spoken up on all these different things is the reason why he's sitting in the chair in which they are sitting to debate right now is because she has gone so outside of the realm of possibility as to gain attention for herself. That's the reason why he's debating her. It's like she can't make that connection.
But beyond that, what I'm saying is that the state is allowed to use.
I didn't
this
lecture
is what
you.
this is what my problem is. You guys are not allowed. Yeah, you guys think while it's still legal. You can. You are allowed to do that. So, but anyway, going back to you saying I wouldn't have a problem. I think I just demonstrated pretty thoroughly that what you claim that you have a problem with is exactly what the state is engaged in at this stage. So it just doesn't make sense.
That's not the case. In fact,
so if people look and they say, I'm looking at the gun and I see, and I'm inferring this, and someone else says, I'm looking at the gun evidence and I'm inferring that, they're both doing the exact same thing.
They're not.
You're just saying, I want to do it for the state.
That's propositionally false.
That is not propositionally false.
I'll explain exactly how. It is the case that every proposition is going to have a true or false conclusion, period. That's just logic, right? It's the law of excluded middle. All propositions are going to be true or they're going to be false. When we're making inferences based on propositions. We can actually come to true conclusions with false premises inside of a proposition, in fact. What we're talking about here is not whether or not you feel that you're convinced by this evidence.
But you felt like you were convinced.
Right? Sure. But here's the thing. When you ask me my reason, Andrew, why are you convinced by this? I can give you my reasons why I'm convinced by it, why it seems reasonable and rational to me to be convinced. You could even say, but Andrew, I'm just not convinced by it. If that was the limitation of your claims, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. That's why I wanted to have the conversation, in fact, was so that we could move into your actual claims that you've made, which transcend the idea of I'm just asking questions.
Before we get into that, your team has one thing they want to show before you go into that. So if you want to pull that up, this is the prosecution filing showing defense had full discovery by April 1st.
Oof.
They did not. That's not true.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
To date, the state's prosecutors have disclosed all evidence that is presently and reasonably available to them as required under Rule 16, Utah R Criminal, to be more precise, as of April 1st.
Yeah, that was not 100%. That's why they're caging that by saying what's reasonable. There was an entire, and we can pull this up, like we should now play the Kathy Nestor clip because that's from there. So, and they were basically saying you don't need it at this stage, meaning
She's struggling. She is struggling. I can't believe I'm eating on stream right now. She is absolutely struggling.
It's not reasonable that you're asking for this when we're going into a hearing that's just going to be based.
Because he just made a entirely coherent point that the reason why he's debating her in the first place, just like I said before, is because she is going outside of the realm of questioning into these conclusions that she's implicitly giving her audience. And then her audience goes around and says, well, Israel killed Charlie Kirk. Are you working for Israel? That's my question. Is she doing that? Because it seems like if you want to discredit a movement, you would put up a bunch of bullshit that isn't true, that can't be proven. That's what it seems like to me.
based on hearsay and stuff, things of that nature. But of course, by the time a trial comes, you're going to get all the discovery
just show
documents.
cause.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what they're saying.
Yeah,
there.
I understand.
Okay. So that's
I'm even fine with it.
Yeah, we all know. And then, by the way, just now that the hearing is over, and you can also fact check this, they now at the end of the preliminary hearing dropped like an insane amount of the discovery stuff they gave to them like the week after. You guys can give me the exact amount. I don't want to say because I don't know my I don't remember how much it was. It was an absurd amount of stuff that they gave to them right after the preliminary hearing that they had been asking for. Because that was one of the things that I kept saying on my show is as we were watching that preliminary of the preliminary, why not just give them the stuff now so they can engage in these arguments? Because I feel like you, it's like, I want to hear what they have to say about the text messages. Why can't you just give them what they're asking for so that they can actually engage you? And it didn't happen. So, but the judge ruled that it wasn't necessary at this stage. And that was the whole point of that
because it's
preliminary to the preliminary. Yeah.
Would you like to play the Kathy video?
Well, he's saying he's not disagreeing, so I don't think we need
There's
to.
no point here.
There's no
Okay.
disagreement
All right,
that she said that.
Yeah.
So so I guess the
I'd like to
disagreements now
also-
would move into
I,
the evidences that you have stated on the record, which transcend elements of reason.
Why are we
in regards
having
to this
a
case.
transcendental conversation now? Because I mean,
Because
first,
they're all
because
related to this
your
case.
entire thing was about looking at the evidence, which never made sense to me. Again, because all of the evidence that you felt to be overwhelming was hearsay. That was bizarre to me.
You told me that I could take as much time as I wanted to question you on these
but
things.
I'm just asking you just to lay the groundwork of what you're saying is
Because you've
problematic.
made
That
many,
you
many
decide that it trips
claims.
into
I'll
something
explain.
else. And I do still want to hold you for going through because we've discussed the gun, we've discussed your.
And you can hold me to those things, but I
yeah.
would like to get into the
And
things
we
that
should
you've
discuss
said.
the screwdriver as
So,
well.
and I'll explain exactly what the groundwork is. When you make claims which pass the idea of I'm just asking questions because the state's evidence is not convincing, I think you have to answer for those claims because they are in regards to this case. You're saying, I have a claim. It is in regards to the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which is what we're talking about, not just the case of Charlie Kirk, his assassination. You should have to answer for the claims that you've made in regards to the assassination itself. You should, agreed. So if that's the case, then I would like to finally dive into some of that evidence and dive into it.
Well, just to be clear, and I'm happy to have you talk about, like I said, publicly, you want to engage in some conspiracies, but I said I want to make sure that we get to the substance of our debate. The substance of our debate
is the major
is me
substance.
demonstrating that all of the quote unquote evidence that you feel that you have, which demonstrates that Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk.
You don't find convincing. I get it.
It's been invalidated by the testimony that we saw, and in your answer for when I
you haven't
explained to you that he had
invalidated
the
it.
most degraded prints was I don't know. Okay, well there lies my ability to process that.
It's just fine for you
Okay.
to not be convinced up to this point. All of your viewers, everybody watching. Nobody's
you're conceding.
Nobody's giving
on
a
that.
dispute that if all your claims ever were just up to now, the evidence that the state's given, I'm just kind of not convinced. That is not what's been happening. What's actually been happening is that you've made tons of claims in regards to this case and in regards to the Kirk assassination, which are far above and beyond, I just doubt, the state's theory.
Okay, yeah, I mean, sure.
And those are
I
the
do
things
doubt. I
that
do doubt the state's theory. I also am
I get
welcome
it.
to.
There he is. Conor McGregor. Who's this lad? Never seen him around here before.
Say what I
do have to say, he's kind of got her in a corner. She has to prove her claims. She's made claims in the past that she seems to not want to own right now. So it'll be interesting to see if she owns any of them.
think, if you want to move into opinions, if you want to talk about Erica Kirk, if you want to talk about Turning Point USA.
I'd like to talk about all
and
of
get
it.
into it. I'm totally happy to do that. But I just want to say that, I do not feel, because I've said what's important to me is that we exhaust this topic first of our actual debate claims. I do not feel that you sufficiently have argued that the evidence is overwhelming.
Candace, question for you.
That Tyler
But I am
Robinson-
sorry you feel that way.
Candace, one question. What evidence do you need to see for you to say Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk?
That's a great question. So I actually expected in this preliminary hearing, the inverse of what he was saying is true, right? So this is now the time the state is putting on their evidence. That's the purpose of this hearing, right? The state is using hearsay, but they're also putting on their evidence. So I was just expecting some sort of a slam dunk. Like, we got him on camera taking the shot. At least we have him clear on camera. You're telling me this guy drove 13 hours all around. Like, we can definitely show you a picture that it's going to be beyond a reasonable doubt. Before we even get to the trial, people are going to see and go, oh crap, like it was really Tyler Robinson. I was expecting to at least see evidence that, because I had reported early on that the source was saying that Tyler did not step foot on campus that day. It is my perspective that he had something to do with something. I do believe he was disposing clothes at this stage, at this phase. I do believe he was disposing clothes. He was involved somehow. I find Lance to be more suspicious, if I'm being honest with you. And also, like I said, the use immunity that was given to Lance by the feds, the fact that the feds didn't ask him any questions, the fact that I spoke with Lance Twiggs' family, and they were like, it's very weird that the feds are not asking him more questions. He's exactly the person that I would imagine to be involved in some stuff. Allegedly, I'll say allegedly. But when we got to the preliminary hearing, there was not a single piece of evidence that I felt was slam dunk. I was waiting for that, a photo. I mean, anything would have made me go, all right, I think this could be the guy. If they had handed over the discovery on the text messages, since that was their big ta-da, we've got the text messages, that would be the first thing that I would hand over. But actually, who was holding them up? Like I said, it wasn't the prosecution. They're right to say we were handing things over, and we heard the defense argue on behalf of the prosecution, saying it's not them and it's not the SBI, it's the FBI that's holding on to things. Is the FBI took everything. The FBI took the gun. The FBI took initially the screwdriver, and then when I heard
the FBI is involved in a criminal case of murder that is a global event. They cannot release evidence because that would tamper with the innocent before proven guilty. That would tamper with the movement of justice. The reason why we, as the public, haven't seen anything is because of innocence before proven guilty. It would mess with the judicial system.
Testimony about the things that they found that were suspicious. Example being the backpack. That's something that really bothers me. That they say they traced the shooter, they traced the route that he went on, and then there was an abandoned. We know it looks like he's wearing some sort of a backpack. We know that there was an abandoned backpack found at the bus stop in front of a library, and they felt that this should be taken into evidence. They took it. The FBI, this was the testimony of Amanda Baker, I believe her last name is, but you might want to fact check that because I think I'm blending last names. She was the forensics for the FBI. And then she says she gets a call on the 13th and they stop testing on this backpack because they find that the backpack actually belongs to somebody on Charlie's team. But if you know the map of the layout of the campus, you're going, well, what the hell are they doing all the way up? This is nowhere near anywhere. And by the way, that's not an acceptable answer for why you just gave it back. That's like, why would you give it back? You're acting like no one's ever been killed by somebody on their team before, right? So I found that to be very strange that it was on the exact route that the alleged gunman ran, and that their excuse was we just gave.
If that's true, that's a very compelling argument on her side, that there was a piece of evidence that was on the part of the team. If that's true, that's actually evidence.
It back because we heard that this belonged to somebody on Charlie's team. So that to me is, this is why the investigation itself feels underwhelming. When you learn, and this is completely crazy to me, that some of the artifacts that Charlie was wearing were immediately returned to Erica. That's absurd. That is absurd. Everything should be in evidence. When you learn that the car that they carried Charlie in to go to the hospital, they had immediately towed, cleaned, and back up for resale, that's absurd. That should be sitting in evidence. And any police officer that you speak to will say, or a person that's been involved in a crime will say, I didn't get my stuff back for years. That had nothing to do with anything. It was just around. And they kept it into evidence until the trial was over, and it has to be approved. I think somebody said by the attorney general has to sign off on giving you those objects back. And we were told this is all fine. And we see, this is just one example, Erica holding the crucifix. That should be in evidence. Irrespective of if you feel bad for her and think she should have have it and it's sweet. That should be in evidence. Immediately paving over the crime scene. This is like the craziest thing ever. This is like defies common sense. You immediately, and when you heard the guy who did it actually go up on a podcast and explain, I got the call. They said it was a paver emergency. I've never in my entire career heard of a paver emergency. They had already had someone come up and dig up the dirt. So by the time he got there on Sunday, the dirt had already been dug up for him to lay down pavers. That is what people are looking at and going, this is weird. There needs to be answers for why this was done. And he tells us the call came from the feds and the governor's office. UVU's washed their hands of it. And what he's saying sounds true because we heard during the testimony, one person described the regions of who was in control of everything. Mm-hmm. The feds were in control of the courtyard. So in order for anybody to have paved anything, that was federal territory.
I hate to do it. Again, I'm grifting. 42 people are watching this. Reach down and give me a like. Even if one person does it, that'll be pretty cool. Whatever. Let's keep going.
So to speak, I'm maybe not using that in the best cop term, but the feds were in control of the courtyard. So these are things that I think should be answered for. Why are we doing things differently than you would in any other criminal scenario of keeping the evidence until we know more, until we're confident, the various decoys. I did it. It just doesn't look right.
Okay, so go back to the question. So what would...
It just doesn't look right. That's not a good argument. A lot of stuff doesn't look right. Look at nature. Look at life.
You need to see for you to say
something. If they had, I was expecting, here we have him, he took the shot, here it is. And then I'd be like, great, a clear image of him on the staircase where I'm like, that's definitively Tyler Robinson and he was on campus. We got nothing. We got literally nothing but hearsay of people saying.
But you basically get no case.
What?
You basically no case on planet Earth. You get the,
sure.
Oh, we got a picture. Here's him with the murder weapon.
Right.
Here's him taking the shot.
Most of this doesn't take place on a college campus that has surveillance everywhere.
Yeah,
one clear image of his.
But I don't understand when you're
his
asked
car plates.
If you're asked the question, what would it take to convince? It'd be the same question be asked to me, Andrew. What would it take to convince you that the oppositional is true, right? That he's a patsy or something like that. Just good, clear, concise evidence that's been presented, right, and is being presented that I could go through and link all together to see if there's actually some clear picture of there being a patsy. That's what it would take for me.
Okay.
I
don't disagree with that. We haven't heard the defense
Just
respond.
a good evidentiary standard. And then, of course, I would change my mind.
So just to qualify this, so there is a possibility in the next few months that you may come out and say, guys, it's done. Tyler killed him. Yeah. So you're saying yesterday.
Yeah.
I think it's very important for the audience here.
Without question.
For you, is there anything that you could see for you to say, yeah, this guy was a patsy?
Of course, I'm going to always follow evidence.
Perfect.
So my whole thing is just this. It's really important to me. I don't mind people being truth seekers and justice searchers, and the internet has helped solve tons of crimes. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, right? However, there's also people who, they not only don't solve crimes, but they just come up with conjecture and what's called flooding the zone. You flood the zone with tons and tons of conspiracy-based ideas and they go nowhere, right? And in fact, they actually take away from legitimate investigation. Now, I'm not even saying anybody here is purposely flooding the zone. That's not even the claim. All I'm saying is that the claims made absent, this is just me not being convinced by the state's evidence. Those become claims, and claims have to be defended. Just like mine have to be defended, yours have to be defended. And that's what we're going to get to now, yeah?
You want to get into it? Would you guys like to take an ad break?
We'll take an ad
break. Sure.
And then we'll talk Erica Kirk and TPUSA.
And the conspiracies that have been conjectured by Candace Owens in regards to this case in the Charlie Kirk assassination.
Folks, we'll take a 3.5 minute break and we'll be back soon.
All right, you guys, you have probably seen all the buzz around.
To create a shoe that blends comfort, function, and luxury. Working for David.
Abraham Lincoln united a nation that was deeply divided. He gave his life as a martyr for the cause of peace. Every hero's journey begins.
Consulting.
I kind of want to skip ahead and see what the fuck is going on. I hate these ads. So annoying. I 3.5 minutes of ads, that's crazy. 3.5 minutes of ads. What the fuck is going on? 3.5 minutes of ads. That's crazy. 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 3.5 minutes they got to get their money, whatever. But it just seems like a lot. Seems like a lot. But we're about to start back right now. Let's see what's going on with these. These people are crazy. All of them. Every single last one of them. Boom.
Okay, beautiful. You take the lead. Go for it.
Yeah, so I have a bunch of questions for you, and I want to make it super painless, right? So no traps, no gotchas. I'm just going to ask them direct, and I think that as long as they're not loaded, if they're loaded, you should not respond yes or no, but as long as they're not loaded, if I just directly ask them, I'm hoping that you'll just give me a direct answer. So here's the questions that I have.
Wait, before we get into that, I would like to just reply to that. Mm-hmm. So just to be clear, we agreed to debate our claims, and then I agreed publicly that I have no issues having a conversation with you about other things that I've discussed that were outside of the court hearing and things like other evidence that's come across our lap and things that we've been speaking about. But I just do want to make it clear to viewers that for whatever reason, you think that you have a right to sort of depose me.
I'm not deposing you. I just want to ask.
She is panicking right now. She is worried. Look at her. The blinking. Look at all the blinking.
But you literally said that I want to be able to question you.
This is a meta conversation.
Right, but okay, so now we're transcending. Like let's use a word to use a word that you're saying. But this is what you're doing, right? Okay. So this part to me feels like a bit of.
So am I allowed to ask the questions?
I've already said you can ask questions, but I made it very clear to you via email and with you in conversation that we should be speaking. This isn't like you get to sit. If you want to depose me, you should join Brigitte Macron's defense team. But you're like, I'm just going to ask questions. Can you answer it? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, I don't know what you're going to ask. And I'm going to answer as I see fit because I'm not.
I get it.
Yeah. Okay.
I get it.
Just so we're clear.
Usually in the debate, if something's not loaded, I'm just direct with the question.
Because you kept saying I'm Joe Rogan. They have no evidence. They have no evidence. And now you're like, let's move away from the evidence. Just talk about transcendentals.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway. So direct question, super easy. Was Lance Twiggs DNA on the rifle as far as you know?
We can't say that for certainty.
As far as you know.
I already answered that in the first part. We can't say that for certainty. I told you the context of which they spoke about those things.
So no, as far as you know.
We can't say that for certainty until we know what other the 5 sets of prints were on.
So that would be no as far as you know.
We can't say that for certainty.
You can say no as far as I know for certain.
We can't say that for certainty.
You can say that for certainty.
if your energy here is going to be like you're my dad and you can tell me how to speak or what I'm supposed to say, you're just going to come up against the wall. I'm familiar with this debate strategy.
But I am just
yes or no. We're not debating anymore. We're having a conversation. So I already addressed that in the first half of this about why.
No, we're still definitely debating. This is still.
No, it's not a debate.
This is this is
you saying I want to probe things that sit outside of the evidence. I actually already addressed this. You asked me. You're not going to go like you're sitting and I'm on trial. I'm not on trial.
Okay, great.
So
let's
you
talk
can
about
have a conversation as we've agreed to.
Let's talk about the Foreign Legion.
Sure.
Was the Foreign Legion, do you believe, trying to kill you?
Yes, that's why I reported it to the correct officials in government. That's what I was told, and I handed over that information to Tulsi Gabbard's office.
What's your best piece of evidence for that?
Well, it was
positive evidence.
It was told to me by somebody who is high up in the French government. I passed off that information to Tulsi Gabbard's office. I also passed it off to Donald Trump's office. And that's all I can tell you. I wouldn't be able to probe any evidence because I don't have the power to do that. I'm not the federal government. And I would also like to say that this becomes this other piece of what you do, which is when people say, I was told this, and this is the evidence that I have, and I'm willing to have that conversation and write the email to the correct government body that deals with this. Like, I can't hack into.
She is panicking. She doesn't have she has nothing.
Emmanuel Macron's bank account and say whether or not the information.
I agree.
But then you go, well, where's your evidence? It's like, well, my evidence is that I reported it. I did the right thing that you're going to do. So if somebody calls and says, hey, Andrew, there's a viable death threat against you, and that person definitively has the rank to be able to tell you this, and you say, well, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to report that to the feds. Then I go, what's your evidence? It's like, well, I got the information and I gave the information that I got from who I got it to the right body of people. And that's what I did.
Got it. I just want to make sure. So I'm not trying to trap you. I just want to make sure I got it clear.
And that's why I say I want to know what you're doing now, because this has always been the thing. It's like, we actually can't win on the overwhelming claim. So we're just going to go and bring up everything that I think can try to embarrass her. I reported
I'm
exactly
not
as I
trying to
received
embarrass
it.
you. I just want to make sure that I get your positions clear.
I have not said, yeah, go ahead.
And now you have stated multiple times that you believe that Israel's involved in the death of Charlie Kirk.
Can you give me...
Yes, we can pull up the clip. I'm sorry. I'm just saying.
Can I finish the sentence?
Go ahead.
Can you give me the context for what are you talking about? Like when I say, generally speaking, why people think that Israel's involved?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where's your question?
Yeah. Do you have any positive evidence whatsoever that Israel killed Charlie Kirk?
Well, I couldn't say Israel was on the ground and shot and killed Charlie Kirk. I would say that there are various things that we're trying to establish, one being a motive. And since I don't believe that Tyler Robinson and his transferee is a convincing motive because he was fired up about politics, which Lance testified that he never spoke about with him, nor do I believe that he was...
Right now, America has a shortage of over 20,000 gunsmiths. And that means tens of thousands of guns.
So into LGBTQ issues, since Lance testified they never spoke about LGBTQ issues, that he stopped and ate at Chick-fil-A, which if you are into LGBTQ issues, wouldn't be your lunch before you go kill Charlie Kirk for LGBTQ issues, because,
Yeah, but do you have positive evidence?
I'm answering the question as I feel like I want to answer it. Like I said, you don't get to for an hour and a half pepper
But the question I'm
questions and
asking is
tell me-
about positive evidence.
I'm telling you that in any case, establishing a motive and and again, I already explained this at the top of the show, but the reason why people find Israel to be an interesting question is because truthfully, Charlie's perspectives were changing on Israel.
Sure.
And he was starting to realize how much pressure was being put on not just our government to constantly fight their wars, but also being put on his organization personally. If people had come out and been honest about that, rather than rabid claiming he never flinched and everybody's lying and this is not true, you would probably have people that just go, that's life. People change their opinions.
I understand.
And then there was the rabid, not even that. It's like everything was about trying to convince the public how much he liked it.
So then other
Israel.
than intuition, how you feel about things, do you have any evidence Israel was involved in killing Charlie Kirk?
She has no evidence, nothing. This is it. This is why we're Andrew for 2 points in his favor, Candace at 0. 0. Nothing in her favor. People are so delusional. She has been made no points in favor of her argument. She's only defended herself. That's it.
Already said, and if you're watching my show and the context of what I said, this is the general sense of why people think Israel's involved. Nobody has made the claim that Israelis, there were also, obviously
Ian
Joe
Carroll
Kent
made the claim.
Well, Joe Kent, who I think would have the right to assert it, noted that there were 12 Israeli.
Joe Kent is a CIA agent, by the way. Look it up.
Cell phones on the ground that day. I think most people would like to probe that. Now, it could be maybe they were students, and they were Israeli students in Utah that day. But we'd like to probe that narrative because what we've seen after coming from the Israeli government, the Israeli prime minister, kind of denying that he did it, which wasn't really necessary, was quite busy. The phone call that happened, which no one wants to discuss in the Hamptons the week prior, or not the week prior, I think it was around August 5th or 6th that took place.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the almost desperate lies about Charlie shifting opinion on Israel lead us to believe that there could be an Israeli angle in this. But we cannot say for certainty that Israel called the shots and this is how it happened. But it is definitively, I think, a thread that a lot of us would like to see.
Say there's
pulled.
no positive evidence.
Whatever you want to say, however positive, negative, however you want to say it.
Well, positive evidence
I can just
would
have
be
a conversation.
Material evidence and other evidences which would
what
point
we've
you
said
to it.
is on our show is what we said, which is this feels like a conspiracy building. There's no reason to lie about these things, and yet people are lying. BB ain't acting right. The Hamptons thing was weird, and the way they tried to shove the Israel narrative down our throat immediately. The day he died, posting a picture of him with an American and Israeli AI'd photo on the president's feed doesn't feel right. So,
do you have any evidence that Erica Kirk or TPUSA participated in the murder of Charlie Kirk?
I've never said they participated in the murder of Charlie Kirk. So how could I say that I have evidence they participated in the murder of Charlie Kirk?
Okay. So then you don't believe that they did?
I never have said that statement, so I'm not going to get you to ask me personal questions about things that I've never said on record.
Okay, fair.
Your team is sending messages in the back saying they have a video they want to play.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't know what the video is. Yes, you said that there's a video you want to play that Candace said she has full confidence Israel was involved.
Yep.
Yeah. He said evidence that they killed him. I said this is why people think they're involvement.
So
if they have the clip, they can play the clip.
Yeah.
They're referring to a clip.
Yeah.
Via whom? My guess is Pierre. Erica. I think that there's a reason Pierre knew that Charlie was dead first. I think there's a reason he was a priority. How? Why? I think France and Israel are involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination. And I'm going to put that out there with full confidence.
Okay.
I also
involvement.
I understand.
Yeah.
So you think you with full confidence, you think that
I think
that
Israel's
France
involved.
and Israel.
Yeah, I mean, the person that gave me that thing that I reported said that French Foreign Legion were on the ground that day.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this would be at a professional limitation for me to then go and probe that information that I handed over. I can't do that. I'm not
But
the
you
United
don't have
States
any
government.
positive evidence of
Okay,
that.
okay.
Right?
Liz, I don't. Can you just stop? It's actually just like annoying to hear you keep saying positive evidence. I've just asked me what I think, and I just tell you, yes, I think they are
that's
involved.
a claim.
No, I said here's what I think.
I have every right to ask you about your claim.
Yeah, but
and if there's positive evidence
in
for
this
your
statement,
claim.
I literally just said I think, and I am allowed to think. And
Yeah,
you
you're
keep
allowed to
saying,
think,
do you have
but you're
positive
making a
evidence?
claim.
I have tons of positive evidence that I'm allowed to think. Yes.
I agree. You're allowed to think.
Okay, so
nobody's disputing whether or not
yeah, but
Candace
like
Owens is allowed to think. What I'm asking.
That's a stupid argument. She's not even arguing for her points. All she's doing is arguing against the other points. It's no argue for your points. Thomas is tired. He's ready to go to bed. It's past his bedtime. Oh, well.
But what's your issue then? What is your issue with the statement?
Evidence.
I think that Israel is involved.
That's not just what you said. You said
I
that
did say
it's
I
with
think.
it's with full confidence.
Yes.
You would think that if you had full
Can you have confidence
confidence
to think when you think?
If I said, for instance, I think I'm going to be late to work, right, with full confidence, I would say my evidence for that is that I'm 20 minutes away and I need to be there in 5.
Andrew,
that's how you would know whether or not you had full
I'm just
confidence.
Going to tell you something.
Hang on, let me finish.
Sure.
If it was the case that I said I have full confidence I'm going to be late to work, I would say my evidence that I'm going to be is that work is 20 minutes away, right, and I have to be there in 5. So I have full confidence. That's why I would think that. So I'm asking if you think that Israel and France were involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
We may have to skip ahead because this is brutal. I really don't want to, but
and you say with full confidence, I'm just asking for the evidence, or at least walk me through the mindset of why it is that you could think that with
I actually
evidence.
don't have to walk you through why I think. I can give you something that I think with full confidence. I think with full confidence that you lost the substance of this debate, and now you're moving toward things that I have said that I think, which I can do. I'm
They're
allowed to think
pertinent to this debate.
It's not exactly pertinent to this
It's
debate.
100% pertinent.
It's not pertinent because our debate
These are claims
claims
made about Charlie Kirk's assassination. That's the complete substance of the debate.
No, actually, would you like to remind him of what our debate claims actually were?
And would you like to remind you said I could ask you about any of these things to my heart's
feel
content?
free, but you do not get to structure how I'm allowed to reply or ask me
I'm
why
not
are you allowed to
structuring how you're
think.
allowed to reply. I'm just asking you direct questions.
I have full confidence that you do not feel that you represented your claim well. And so now what you came
That's
prepared
nice.
to
I just
do is
wanna
to
know-
present yourself like a professor of fallacies.
I just want to know.
And to say, you are not allowed to say that. You can't. It's
You
my
can
podcast.
say whatever you want. Nobody's
I said
disputing that.
It
I'm
It
asking-
seems like you are disputing
I'm
it.
asking
I think that
specifically
when this
why
is
you
all
think
said
that.
and done, I've already explained to you. I explained at the beginning of this
Mhm.
why I think Israel is ultimately going
France.
to be proven to have involvement in this.
Mhm.
I just explained to you in the middle, and now you're wanting me to structure the sentence or provide evidence. You don't have to. You're just allowed to think, and I've explained to you my thought process. I don't need to structure it in a sentence. If you feel like a professor today, you picked the wrong day.
Don't you think that like tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people would want to know what Candace Owens' positive evidence for why it is
No, I
that
don't-
Israel and France were involved in the most traumatic public assassination of Gen Z's lifetime is?
That's why they watch my podcast.
So you're just going to drip to them? Like, here's why
it's
I
not
think
dripping.
that?
Every time we come across
that is an appeal to authority, which is a fallacy. That's why they watch my podcast. That's not why they watch your podcast. The reason they watch your podcast is because they are encapsulated with sensationalism. Sensationalism.
Any of these discussions, they're watching this in context and they know why I'm saying it. So, for example, when you're bringing up, well, Candace, where's your evidence for France doing this? I just told you someone who was high ranking in the French government, right?
Who's nameless.
Of course. But
So there's good reason to doubt this.
So it's not a conspiracy, though, if I then took it to the federal government. Like, you can't just go out there making a claim to the federal government. You get in trouble for making false statements and things of that nature. So, and then you go, well, I'm going to probe that. Well, how can you probe that? This happened to me.
I can ask you, well,
this
that's
is
not
my
what I'm probing
podcast.
specifically.
This is my podcast. I am sharing my life and my experiences and what has happened to me. And you're basically coming in like you're going to, regulate how I'm allowed to say it, if I'm
not
allowed
trying to regulate anything. I'm asking very pertinent questions.
You're sounding a bit like a professor trying to regulate and say, Candace,
you sound very
can't
defensive
say, I think.
and like you just don't want to answer questions.
I did answer your question 3 times. I just didn't say it in the way that you wanted me to say it.
You just kind of obfuscate and you run away from it. But I would like for you to actually focus on it.
Let's just go through every clip that you guys have prepared, because it's pretty. I think with full confidence, people will recognize the strategy that you're trying to employ. So let's get to the next clip you have prepared.
Sure, they can pull up whatever clips they want.
Whatever it is that you guys have prepared. So
I would still. On this point, I just want to make sure that you have full confidence that France and Israel were involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
I think
you have no evidence for it at all that you'll give us.
Well, I already did tell you where it came from. Like I said, I can explain it to you. I can't understand it for you.
Did that same higher up tell you that he was going to kill, or that France killed Charlie Kirk, or just that you were in danger?
They said that the French Foreign Legion was involved and on the ground that day. I've already said that. You just don't like hearing it.
No. Candace, just out of curiosity,
Yes.
when you pass down that message to Tulsi or Trump.
Tulsi's office, yes.
Tulsi's office. Are you giving them who told you that, or you're just saying, here's what I heard from somebody?
And I have this information.
Sure.
And of course, if they wanted to open a file on it, which I thought was quite mysterious, that Trump's office never got back to us. It was kind of weird about maybe they're not the correct office to. I did receive a response from Tulsi Gabbard's office, but I don't think there was ever any investigation into what I said.
So the call was, hey, I've been
Emailed.
told the email.
Yes.
Email was, I've been told
I have
somebody
information, that the French Foreign Legion was on the ground during Charlie's assassination, and that, it was a lot of information, but
you didn't give specifics who it was from.
not in the first email, because I figured they would
Perfect.
Yeah.
So if they do contact you,
100,
are you
yes.
comfortable giving 100% who it is?
I would absolutely give them as much information as possible.
Can I ask a question? If whoever's the U.S. government, why are you not?
Yes, it's very strange to me.
So if that's the case, now they may respond back and say, we did, that's their position.
I did. That's why I did it in writing.
And so I'm glad that's the case,
Yes.
because so if they
and
do
right
ask
away in
you,
Trump's office, Margot got right back to me. She said it was on his desk. So he has that. There's no.
And if you do say that and they contact that individual, obviously you don't have to leak your sources here. Is there enough credibility where that person would be willing to talk to them and explain to them exactly what their sources are?
Yes.
Okay.
It seems reasonable. And so why he's asking me to defend that is
I'm not. Never did.
I think those are two different things. That's more something I'm
totally
asking
different
to say,
claims.
why are they not reaching out to you?
I've asked that many times on my podcast.
What do you think about that, Andrew?
I just found out that if you have 2 cars on your car insurance, this is 100% what you should be doing. So I found this website, and look at the difference. $159 a month. I thought this was the best price I could find. Don't even look anywhere else.
What?
The fact that she emailed, she gave it, and nobody reached out to want to contact the source.
They
that she's
probably
willing
didn't think
to
it was
share.
actionable, is my guess. But even if they did think...
They don't take her seriously.
it was actionable, great. Every lead should be followed up on within the confines of what's rational and reasonable.
Is it fair to say that this is maybe a different individual because this is a person that was involved with TPUS and had a relationship with Charlie?
Who?
No, her relationship. Like this isn't just anybody. So if an average person sends it, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't know who the source is. We don't know any of this.
Well, then if you were in that department, wouldn't you want to, even you assign it to one of your guys?
There's no guarantee they didn't look into it. How do we know? We don't know.
How could they if they didn't come get the information, more of the information, because it was a long file.
Yeah. This is a separate. This
Did
has
you
got
send
nothing to
them
do
the
with the
guy's
debate.
name?
This is more on.
Well, I sent the email assuming that's I'm saying like you go and you make a report. You think they're going to come back to you and say, hey, what's more information? We're investigating this, and that didn't happen, and which is what I raised.
No,
I
I'm
found
asking,
that,
did you send them the
especially
source of
because
the
this was at
claim?
a time where they were saying that they wanted to explore every possible lead. I even texted Dan Bongino.
But did you-
So actually, it was three offices.
Let me ask
the
one question and then
executive
I'm gonna come to
office,
you.
Dan Bongino, and Tulsi Gabbard's office.
Okay, so a follow up to that is the following:
Mm-hmm.
if they contact you to say, is that specifically to the French government or Israel's involvement in the killing of Charlie Kirk?
That wasn't about
Those
Israel.
are two separate things.
That wasn't about Israel.
Okay,
It was they were
got it.
saying the French foreign, that person as a part of it was saying that it was the French Foreign Legion that was on the ground that
So
day.
I'm surprised they haven't called you.
Then I find that to be very strange too.
I do as well.
Because who would want to make a report? I've never made a report with the federal
Let
government.
me ask one question. Let me just ask one question.
Mhm.
Let me just ask one question, and I'm going to bring it to you.
Sure.
The question is in regards to. I've not seen that clip, so I'm seeing it now.
Mhm.
I'm full confidence. I believe that
Mhm.
Israel French was involved. Is that also based on a source that somebody told you that Israel was involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, or is that a gut feeling?
So in terms of Israel, I mean, what I've said is what I publicly have said here. I do think that at the end of this, we are going to find that Israel was involved. I do. Now, in terms of any of the hard evidence that's been presented, I think this has been a huge problem that a lot of us have had is that they won't even explore anything else that was going on in Charlie's life personally. So if we're not satisfied that Tyler Robinson did this in any way, then every alternative theory should be explored. Other evidence should be brought forward. We've done that in our capacity. Like when people keep saying she has no evidence, it's kind of crazy. I think we've broken like more stories than any news source in the world. I mean, down to pictures, details, police officers, what the dog's name was, because we're not the only people that believe there's a conspiracy here. The police officers that were involved, the many police, sheriff's offices, that were departments that were involved that day, all believe there was a conspiracy. Down to the U.S. Marshals believe there was a conspiracy. They were, my sources at the U.S. Marshals were saying they were basically sent on a wild goose chase that day.
But do you see how you say my sources?
Am I not allowed to have sources?
Well,
Like
the thing is funny.
So is CNN allowed to have
well,
sources?
hang on. I
but
have
we can't?
sources. If I said I have sources that claim none of that's true. In fact, my sources claim that her sources are lying. My sources claim that none of them believe that there's a conspiracy. My sources claim all of them really think that Tyler Robinson was a lone gunman. If I just said that as hypothetical, wouldn't you say, what?
Yeah, I think what probably adds weight is like then when I drop photos of the car that no one was supposed to see, people go, okay, her sources are legit. So, and then when what I say is then proven in court and nobody knew those things, people are recognizing that my sources are legit. When I say Charlie was scared in the last days, and then I dropped the text message, which you've just learned about a couple of weeks ago, of him saying he was leaving the pro-Israel cause when everyone was lying about that, then they say, I think Candace's sources are legit. So I think what's happened is I've actually built up a rapport with my audience that it's not vibes and dreams, and that's why they keep watching my content, because like, for example, when I just the other day released the content of the shooter on the roof doing the lateral crawl, then they're going, I don't think these are just vibes. It seems like Candace's sources are legit. So I've proven myself in the market.
Yeah, I'm not sure that would legitimize your sources as being legitimate when it comes to the idea that, they all believe that there's a conspiracy going on, which is actually what your claim is now. How would that actually, hang on, I'm almost done.
How would that, talking to PVD
how would that legitimize, well, it's not his debate. How would it legitimize these sources that even if it's the case that you get some court footage or some things like this, why would it legitimize that your sources are telling you all the marshals believe it's a conspiracy, all the police believe it's a conspiracy, everybody believes it? How would that legitimize any of that?
Well, what I am saying to you, and you are not forced to believe it. So let me just explain what I was answering here, and I think that you understood what I was saying. Is I have, because people trust me, compiled a lot of information and presented it to the public, and this information has been proven true.
Because people trust me, if it's based on bias evidence, doesn't mean anything. That's what Andrew's trying to say. And from Candace Owens' perspective, she's saying, well, all these different things, I have fulfilled the agreement that I've had with my audience as far as giving them some form of evidence. So she's saying that I've legitimized myself through this form of evidence, He's saying that if your evidence is biased anyway, or your sources for evidence are biased anyway, then it doesn't matter, because all of the sources, the resources you're using are containing your own bias. So they're speaking past each other in a way.
Presented photos, we have presented videos, never before seen stuff. The public has never seen it. And so what that does is your audience goes, okay, when she says that she has these sources, clearly she's telling the truth. Now, whether you would then go, well, I'm going to believe her when she says they don't believe, they think that there's a conspiracy, that's up to you. You cannot watch my content. I'm not here to tell you that you have to watch my content or believe everything I'm saying.
Well, don't you think questioners should get questioned as well?
Hi, it's Mark Barden from Sandy Hook Promise.
Holy shit.
13 years ago, my sweet little Daniel was murdered.
Whoa.
By who? I'm not committing a crime, am I? By just saying what I think and collecting
aren't
evidence.
most of the people you ask questions of not actually committing crimes?
But what do you mean they should answer questions where? Like at a police station? Like,
no,
what are you
just
saying?
like if you want people to come in and answer questions for you. I have questions about this in the investigation. I have questions about this. I have questions about that. You want them to answer your questions. Doesn't it seem totally fair that you answer back the questions people have for you?
Well, they're not answering our questions. So it's also fair that they don't answer them.
So you're
That's why I said Andrew Colvett should be in this chair. He's not.
But
That's
isn't
his
that a double?
prerogative.
But isn't that a double standard?
No, it's not, because he's not doing it.
Yeah, but that would still be a double standard. If you're requesting that he does do it, then that seems to infer that you think he owes you answers.
Oh, so inferences are allowed again?
And they never weren't. So that seems to infer that you think that he owes you answers. If that's the case, then don't you owe answers?
Yeah, well, I feel like I'm answering your questions and his questions about, I'm talking about Andrew Colvett. His position is he's a spokesperson for Turning Point USA. So when the crowd turns against Turning Point USA on the basis of a lack of information, or because there has been, seeds sown of distrust, I would imagine, and forget answering my questions because it doesn't need to be me.
But aren't you sowing a lot of those seeds of distrust?
Well, I think they're doing a pretty good job themselves, if I'm being honest. You can blame it on Candace all you want.
Well,
people love to do that.
The thing is funny is
people act like I'm
I think
ground
their
zero.
PR, I'll be fair with you.
Ground zero of people not trusting Turning Point USA.
I think that there was some PR there. I think there was some PR there. Sure, they could have done better. Absolutely. I'm not disputing any of that. One thing, though, that I want to just directly ask you is, do you actually believe that anybody in TPUSA or Erica Kirk or Erica actually participated, had foreknowledge of, or facilitated the murder of Charlie Kirk?
I'm not going to get myself into a legal pickle here. Everything I've said is on my podcast. I think firmly that.
Hold on a second. That's a bit revealing. If what she's saying is true, she wouldn't be in a legal pickle. Hold on a second.
If I was the investigating officers, I would seat them all and I would ask questions. I would at this phase. I would.
Okay,
so
well, what does that
hypothetical,
mean? Does that mean that you do think so?
I think it was not a sufficient investigation into what we know to be true of 80% of homicides. It's usually conducted by someone you know, right? And the fact that was never even considered, that like I said earlier, the backpack was returned.
How do you know that was never considered?
Because they gave back the backpack as just one example. They gave back the backpack. They gave back the.
That doesn't show a conspiracy.
Well, I mean, it shows that the police trusted everybody and didn't just hold things up for a second.
They ruled them out as suspects.
That quickly, I'm not comfortable with that investigation. It's a pretty big organization. There's a $100 million incentive. This is...
What $100 million incentive?
I think we've almost got this tacked down. I mean, Candace Owens is all about vibes. It's all about how I feel. It's all about this, that. It doesn't hold any true evidential claims. It doesn't hold anything. Like, she's not got anything. So far, we got Andrew for 2 points, positive claims for his position. We've got Candace Owens at 0. I don't understand how, I don't know. I've been checking Twitter. I've been seeing all these people defending Candace. I don't see it. I do not see it. She's playing on the conspiracy game. What
I'm saying is his organization, like had grown to, I think it was
honestly, I want to skip ahead because we're at 2 hours 43 minutes. I guess we got an hour left, so it's not a big deal, but
100
plus per year.
Yeah, per year. If that's something you want back.
Yeah, but what was
your team wants to play video, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
There's a video they want to play of Candace said it's impossible to not believe Erica's complicit. If you guys want to play that video.
Could also just ask.
And so right now, their guys are going out and they're going to look for evidence. And then by May, which is fortunately around the corner, then she'll see what they found. So what the F is that performance? How could you sit up there and say, I 100% believe Tyler Robinson did it? That right there is why it is impossible for me to think that Erica Kirk is not complicit somehow. Because what?
Those two thoughts actually don't even follow. How would it be the case that even if Erica Kirk did believe that Tyler Robinson was 100% responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk, let's just say she believed it with every fiber of her being, believed all the evidence, because she did. She just actually did. Would it then follow that somehow she's complicit in his death?
I didn't say complicit in death. You added those two words.
Okay, so what's she complicit in?
Yes. So sowing this narrative that Tyler Robinson is guilty. So you're chopping up clips. Like I said, you didn't have the confidence to come in debate.
Tell me,
so
what
now
does
you're
that mean?
chopping
What
it
does
up.
complicit mean?
We are showing a clip of her on Barry Weiss, which I can't remember the date that she did that interview. And Erica, when she is asked, "Are you do you feel with 100% certainty that Tyler Robinson did this?" And she says, "I do." Then again, context matters. I sit down with Erica for 4 hours under the assumption that she had some evidence, right? Like I'm like, this is why I did not engage in any like Erica, everyone's questioning what she's wearing and all this stuff. I was like, I'm going to wait here because I don't know, just it feels weird to think that, did I think that some of her mannerisms were weird and stuff like that? Yeah, but that's not, you can't convict somebody on weird mannerisms. And then when I sat down with her and I was expecting for her to say, well, I'm obviously the victim on the case and we got to see the shot, taken or this or that, whatever it is. Great. That's why she has that much confidence 2 months ago. And when I sat down with her, it was nothing. It was nothing. Okay. So this is a conversation.
How would that make her complicit?
Complicit. And again, you said complicit in the death of Charlie Kirk.
Complicit in what? Yeah.
Well, if you let me finish my sentence, I could tell you that. But my point being is that then you take a look at this and you go, okay, well, this is weird.
She is obfuscating. She is going into, if you let me finish my sentence, he is making small, annoying, but subtle remarks to what she's saying because she will not get to the point. It's like she's edging everybody all of the time. Watch the next show. Do this, do that. It's wait till the end. It's wait till the end of the sentence. It's wait till the end of the paragraph. It's wait till the end of the year. It's wait till the end of next year. She is constantly edging everybody. She will never get to the point because the point is incompatible with reality.
Why would you have this confidence? And then when you sit across from somebody and you say, okay, great, I want to go out there and defend you now. I want people to know that you can't say this stuff publicly, but you know more things. And she just blanks. And then she says, well, I'm going to call the lawyer. And she called the lawyer. Again, all of this is on my show. So out of context clips is not going to work because I know what I say on my show. Okay. So we call her lawyer and her lawyer says to us, she calls him on the phone, pardon me. And it's me, her, and Justin Strife. And I'm like, okay, great. What do you guys have? He goes, well, we don't have anything yet. We're not at that phase yet. And I'm like, well, what do you mean you don't have anything? And he says, well, don't you know how it works? It's a probable cause hearing. So basically the state says that they're going to bring this forward. And now our people go out and they look for the evidence to assert that Tyler Robinson is guilty. And so I asked her directly, her lawyer directly, the phone's in between us. I'm like, wait, so just so I'm clear, you haven't seen anything that the public hasn't seen? And he says, no. So I'm going back in my head and I'm going, okay, so why is Erica saying with such a degree of certainty, like she was sent out to convince the public and people bit, by the way. I remember even Megyn Kelly was like, let's wait. She's going to have access to things. I did think she had access to things that we didn't have. Why express that confidence to the public as opposed to just being like, we don't know yet. I feel confident he's involved. They made an arrest.
I don't understand how.
She almost certainly has access to things that we don't have access to. Do you know how powerful these people are? These people are the inmost of the inmost, with the President of the United States call on their phone. They do have access. That doesn't mean that she's obligated to tell Candace Owens about that.
How would any of this make her complicit, and in what?
Well, I've already told you. She's complicit in trying to fool the public into thinking this is some open and shut case.
How's she trying to fool the public into this? If she believes
Like, don't look
if she
anywhere
believes
else.
that Tyler Robinson killed Kirk, if she believes that, how would that be complicit in anything?
I do.
Are you saying that you think she doesn't believe it?
I don't believe that at that stage she sat down with Barry Weiss that's what she believes. No, but that's my opinion.
Right. But so when you just say complicit, you just mean she believes that Tyler Robinson killed Kirk? That's it?
That's what we were talking about. That's why I said if your strategy was to dice up clips and take it out of context and make it seem like I said she was complicit.
Everything.
Yeah, but then why not just play the full thing? Like why?
Because we don't have like infinite amounts of time, I'm guessing. You probably don't want to watch.
Well, I'm going to go back to my theory that you didn't feel confident that you could defend your claim that it was overwhelming evidence. So now you're.
Candace Owens is obviously manipulating her audience. Complicit. Erica Kirk is complicit. What does she think that's going to portray to her audience? How does she think her audience is going to react to that? It's so ridiculous. She's playing dumb. She's a manipulative fucking bitch.
Trying to move towards doctored clips and getting
well,
me to
there's no
respond to
doctored
it.
anything. I'm just making sure that we got this right.
Yes,
that what you're actually
yes,
saying
I
is
do
that
believe
Erica is just complicit in believing it.
When I re-examine her actions backward, because I did not have this perspective of her at the beginning, which is why it's so funny to me that you guys make it seem.
I think I've realized why Andrew is a little bit anxious here. I think it's because he's slowly coming to the realization that he is sitting across from a fucking psychopath. Candace Owens seems like a psychopath. That she is. And if you're a dude and you've ever, oh my God, try to negotiate with women, then you understand this thing, that they do one thing and then they try to back off of it and they try to make it seem like they were doing something else, and they make you feel weird. They make you feel like you're misinterpreting everything all the time. I think that he's slowly realizing he's sitting across the room from a fucking psychopath.
Like, I'm ground zero. People thought Erica was sus from day I forgive him. And I was not a part of that. I did not lean into that. I did not contribute to that. I was getting actually terrible messages from my fans being like, Candace, you and Charlie always say to go with your intuition. You won't address this, how we all feel about her. Things changed for me when I saw that Zoom call. I will tell you that for sure. And the fact that she lied to me. So I sat across from her and, I wanted to have that conversation publicly, but they're probably grateful they didn't do it publicly. She told me some lies. And so the next thing that happens naturally when somebody lies to you, when any person lies to you, whether it's a toddler, people only lie when they're trying to obscure something else.
Have you addressed what that lie was?
Yeah, I've talked about, we have a list of lies that we've been told by Charlie. We can find that,
I'm sure. In the meeting with her.
Well, no, I didn't want her to cage up. I didn't want to do this, and because I didn't know what to expect. Like I didn't know if she was going to be like, I'm so overwhelmed with everything, and I don't know who to trust in the organization, and I don't know what I'm doing. Like I didn't know. I didn't want to.
Just out of curiosity, before anything happened with Charlie, how close were you and Erica?
Not very close.
So there's not a relationship.
No, I would say it's totally normal. Like, it's not like there was any issues at all. We were always nice to each other. It just is our life went to a different phase, right? So Charlie and I hitting the ground, running around, traveling 4 days a week. Now I get married. I find love of my life. I get married and I get pregnant. I haven't stopped being pregnant. And what you want out of life changes. You don't want to be running around for 4 days a week and traveling on a plane nonstop. You suddenly want to start building at home and live. I was desiring that suburban life.
Did you guys ever do the double dates? You, George, her, and Charlie? Was there ever double dates between the four of you?
I was, engaged to George quickly. We were planning our wedding. I was kind of in my bubble with George. George traveled with me and Charlie, but Erica and him were just starting to date at the beginning of 2019. George and I were planning our marriage. So George really got to know Charlie. I wouldn't say that I really got to know Erica. I was just rooting for them because I knew how much Charlie wanted to, find love. And so I was kind of his wing woman throughout that phase. And I was just happy. And I never was under the impression, obviously, that they were going to get married when they were dating. So it wasn't like I was conscious, I really need to get to know this person. And so it was just kind of normal that by that time, because of where I was in my life, that I wasn't spending any time getting to know Erica.
So the complicit part of...
By the way, I'm pretty sure, I have no evidence, so I'm going to pull a Candace Owens right now. But circumstantially, there's more evidence for this than there is for fucking Candace's bullshit, but it seems like Erica Kirk and Charlie Kirk would have been an arranged marriage. It just makes sense because of the milieu of the political sphere, being in the public eye, and that George Farmer and Candace Owens was a similar thing. It seems that way. Look into that if you're interested, but I have no evidence, so I'm not going to say. I wouldn't go on a debate about it. I would say, I don't fucking know, man. But whatever.
About Erica to you, is that a gut feeling? You think
it transformed when she lied?
You can take the lead. I'm just asking questions.
Yes.
Go for it.
I actually I still don't understand what you think she's complicit in.
Yeah. So when I say Erica's complicit, that's my opinion. When you tweeted Erica's too retarded to kill her husband, would you like to explain how you developed your evidence, your positive evidence for the fact that Erica was retarded?
Yeah, sure. So I just think all women are retarded.
Oh, so you're allowed to just say stuff. Who knew? So, and by the way, what dramatically transformed your opinion of Erica after going to the headquarters?
All women are retarded, and all women will drag you away from the things that you love. That's just what it is. Sorry. Unless you fight against them, they will take you away from the things that you actually enjoy just to spend more time with them and watch fucking Disney Plus or whatever. They will do that. It's just what it is.
Because you were pretty hostile about...
I wasn't hostile towards them.
You don't think calling somebody too retarded is...
We're going to skip ahead. We are getting into meta conversation right now. We're going to see if there's anything of substance towards the end. Holy shit, it ends right there. Okay, so we're going to come to right here. We might skip ahead again, but this is just getting to be a little bit too retarded for me.
People say, well, the Communist Manifesto is a pretty good book. I'm like, well, have you read it? I think what's most commonly missed.
Genuine and pretending that you care about this case enough to know one of the 7 charges that are up against Tyler Robinson when you say the evidence is overwhelming that he's guilty. If you would like to move to final statements, I'm fine. I want to make sure Andrew has had the time that he has requested.
I think your team would like to pull up the 7 charges that he just asked you about. If you guys want to pull that up just to confirm the 7 you went through. Can you guys zoom in a little bit?
Aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm, obstruction of justice, which is counts 3 and 4, 5 and 6, tampering with a witness, and count 7
violent
offense in the presence of a minor.
In front of a child.
Yeah.
So 5, 6, tampering witness, 3rd degree felony. Now I did notice something. I just was curious about. If I'm just wondering, when you pulled out your phone just before you asked that question, did somebody by chance text you that question?
You can check my phone.
I'm just curious.
No, you can absolutely not. I have not had one communication with a single person, not even my producers who are in there this whole time we were here. You want to check my phone? I'm happy to do it because you're just going to get double embarrassed. Where's my phone?
You want to see it?
I'm just curious. Yeah.
You can literally do that. Here you go. PBD, you're the moderator. Take it.
Let's see
if anyone was texted at all during this debate.
All right.
About the violent charges or anything.
I'm looking through this. You give me permission.
You have full permission to go through my phone. I don't need to cheat.
So the last one has nothing to do with it. It's just a compliment.
I haven't even read my text messages.
That's a compliment.
He's reading them.
You're okay. You'll give me permission.
Yes.
I'm just going to read 3 of them,
Yes.
see 1132, because after that, I don't need to read it.
And you know they're texts. Could have been Telegram, could have been something
All
like
I
that.
have is Signal. You can check that too. I only have Signal. Telegram I used in Russia. And that was a downloaded for
I'll
Russia.
take your word for it.
Yeah.
Then-
I don't need to I
Okay.
deeply care about this case. I don't need to
I
pretend
get
to
it.
know
If you
stuff that
deeply
I
care
don't
about
know.
the case, I
Yeah.
just, I have, my other question is about the steakhouse receipt.
You just said that you were done asking all your
Nothing, just
questions.
so you know,
Yeah.
nothing there.
There. I don't
Yeah, do you
need to
have the
that.
steakhouse receipts? My question.
I have said several times that I have never said I have the receipt for the steakhouse. I have said the person who's working on that story is going to be forthcoming with the receipt. And that was what I was responding to. And he then dropped the receipt. He redacted elements of it. And I said, stay tuned. He's the one working on that story.
Okay, so you haven't actually confirmed that Robinson was at that steakhouse.
All I did, as I said earlier in this conversation, was I spoke to the owner when I broke that story. I think it was back in January. I spoke to the owner, understood what had happened, and that there was a receipt. That's it. That's the extent of what I shared is what happened.
I've been following it very closely on X.
The receipt, you weren't even following the charges of Tyler Robinson, but you really wanted to know. I've been following it very closely on X.
Wait, you think
I'm calling owners of steakhouses and having a conversation. You're following combo on X.
I literally followed the entire trial or the preliminary live. I was live with an attorney. We covered all of it. You think because I have a momentary or lapse where I'm like,
on one of our accounts, he said, can I talk to Patrick? We got on the call. He said, Patrick, can you moderate this? And then I said, great, let's do this. And so before we wrap up, final thoughts, I'll come to you first.
yeah, she had nothing, just nothing. For all of her claims of Patsy, nothing. She didn't have a single claim. She didn't have a single solid piece of evidence. She had no positive evidence Israel's involved in anything. No positive evidence that France is involved in anything. No positive evidence TPUSA is involved in anything. No positive evidence that Erica Kirk is involved in anything. When I ask her about her claims about Erica Kirk, yeah, it's just funning. It's just funning, Or, yeah, I do think that she needs to sit down and ask some questions, or answer some questions. But you know what? I don't even know if she has. Like, maybe she has. I have no idea. Yes, I'm going to have an official timeline with unconfirmed evidence. That's just fine. Hey, it's hearsay. If that's good enough for the state, it's good enough for me. But my biggest problem with the state is that they're admitting all this hearsay. It's like she's a contradiction machine. On top of all of this, the thing that I wanted to get out of this more than anything else was to just demonstrate one thing. Yes, it's true. I'm not perfect on the case. I'm not going to ever pretend that I am, and never did. But what has been made very clear to me is that there's nobody with an alternative theory that has any evidence for it at all. None. Zero. And the continuous kind of expression, we're running an investigation. What kind of investigation builds a timeline out on a receipt that they don't even confirm? What kind of investigation tries to make these bold claims that Israel's involved and France is involved and all these different players are involved and never shows any evidence? We're just asking questions. It's again, like I said in my opening, it's always intuition, my feelings, how I feel about things, how I think about things. Andrew, how many times did you hear this today? Andrew, you can't tell me how I'm supposed to think. Yeah, nobody's trying to tell you how to think. But you should rationally come to your conclusions based on evidence and facts. And the truth is that 90% of what you're saying is simply intuition based. It came to me in a dream. It's intuition. Almost none of it has any evidence at all. Just, I'm skeptical because these people over here said things, and that makes me skeptical. It's like, but no evidence. Note this to the audience, to everybody watching. You might hate my guts. That's fair enough. I get that. I'm not the most likable man. I understand that too. But there was nothing. I mean, no evidence at all that Tyler Robinson was a patsy that was ever put forward by Candace this entire debate. Now, maybe you could say that we stalemated when it came to whether or not Robinson did it. She says, I found the evidence convincing, or unconvincing. Andrew says he found the evidence convincing. Okay, fair enough. Maybe you can't do too much about that, but there was nothing. She had nothing for Robinson being a patsy, nothing for any of her conspiracies. Nada, zero, zilch. And she backed away on a bunch of them. This is the first time I think she's ever really backed away from the Twigs thing. First time I've heard her back away from the Erica thing, back away from TPUSA, being very cautious about making any of those claims now. Whereas on her show, much more likely to be making those claims. So she just had nothing the entire debate. Zero.
Candace.
Well, I think that is quite a conclusion. Admitting somewhere, maybe we stalemated, it probably signifies what I've been saying from the beginning, that you didn't feel that you were strong on the actual facts and the evidence, which I was willing to engage with you. I wanted to go over the screwdriver. I wanted to go over the towel and the things that you've mentioned, and you wanted to then move the conversation into a defense of Erica Kirk and her character, and what I've said about Erica, which is my opinion. And I have not edited that opinion after discussing with you. I would like to extend a compliment to you for being willing to sit down and to have the conversation. I still walk away feeling that the people who are jumping on the bandwagon about this case don't care about this case. They don't care about Erica Kirk. It tends to be follow that they take a meeting with Turning Point USA and they come out and suddenly have a lot of junk to say about Candace Owens. And I do want to also stress that Turning Point USA tried to pepper him with something as a surprise. He showed clips that were meant to be a surprise. I did no such thing. I stressed to PBD from the beginning that I was grateful he was taking this on and that I wanted this to be a clean debate because I believe I can win this on the merits. And I believe that I did win this fully on the merits by engaging the evidence of what has happened. I do still believe that there is more evidence which supports that there are more people involved and that Tyler Robinson has been set up, and that none of the evidence that was presented was in any way overwhelming, which is why I think you wanted to move to end that discussion quickly and to speak to me about France and to talk about this Panguitch receipt and my timeline. I want to remind people that a lot of the at-home investigators, which you were open to, as you called them, internet sleuths, I think it was on a show that you did right after Charlie was assassinated, that internet sleuths would solve this. This is the reason why Charlie, a year on, is still a conversation every single day trending on Twitter. I knew Charlie. I cared about Charlie. I care about finding out what the truth is here. My heart is in the right place. I think anybody who watches my show or even just watched this debate knows that if I get something wrong, I'll instantly correct it and own it. I'm not arrogant. I don't need to sit here and pretend that I didn't misspeak on the Lance thing. It hasn't been ruled out. But you saw that he just really wanted to hammer that point. You know, part of being a well-meaning person is to concede when you are wrong, to take something off a timeline when you know it's not right. And I would like to think that that is why I have earned the audience that continues to follow me, because they know my heart's in the right place, that I deeply cared about Charlie and I deeply care about the answers. I want to thank Andrew's team who are providing the fact checks. It's a very small room that they're in. I want to, as always, thank my team who worked really hard to make this happen and flip this set. And to you, PBD, just for being a great moderator. I think very fair, letting us both speak and making sure that Andrew got out of this what he wanted, which was a little more than what I wanted. But I'm very content with how I dealt with this. And I trust, I don't need to convince the audiences with the magic trick of what they need to think about this debate. They can watch it and draw their own conclusions.
Beautiful. Fair from both of you. I think the audience won. And again, from the beginning, all of this is because of how much love and respect we have for Charlie Kirk, a great man that's no longer here with us. His 1-year anniversary is coming up here. I can't believe it's that quick that is here. The audience, I think you also won if you did support the Crucible, support the Candace Show, support the PBD Podcast, subscribe to the channel. This is how you help these voices get out even more, especially going into future when this happens. You want a lot of independent creators to have these types of discussions. And last but not least, the two of you, I respect you guys again for having this conversation. It is not easy to do so. Hopefully this will lead to more discussions. A lot of different things we talked about. I'm sure there will be a lot of follow-up. With that being said, take care, everybody. God bless. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
All right. Well, that was it. My final thoughts. I'm going to expand myself right here. A little inside baseball here on the OBS. My final thoughts, I think that was a complete waste of time. I think that there's an exemplary example of what it means when our thoughts get the best of us, when we allow ourselves to fall into certain traps, when we allow ourselves to fall into a sensationalism that completely captures us. as far as what we watched on this, I know I skipped ahead, but as far as what we watched, we ended at Andrew being at 2 and Candace being at 0. There were 0 points of evidence that were expressed through Candace's view. But people can draw their own conclusions, whatever. And the internet is a crazy place, and it will continue to be. So, anyway, this has been Perpetual Stew. Tomorrow, I'm going to be a live stream on Rumble and X. We're going to be talking about Calvinism, individualism, and the consequences on society. I got Daniel coming in. We're going to be a 2-man. And Cameron is preparing for a trip to Georgia, so he's not going to be able to make it. But we're going to talk about Calvinism. We're going to kind of do a deep dive on Protestant Calvinism and individualism. Like I said, the effects of the culture and of society as far as that goes. So that'll be a fun one. If you guys are watching, subscribe to my Rumble account, which is Bradshaw. The S is a Z, BRADZHAW. We go live every single Saturday around 7:30, 8 o'clock EST. So check us out. Like I said, tomorrow will be fun. That'll be a deep dive. I don't know how long we're going to go. We may go for an hour. We may go for 3 hours. Who knows? So I'm just trying to kind of build the audience. So like my stuff, man. Like I'm trying to make something here. I'm trying to make something beautiful. So if you enjoy it, if you are liking what you're seeing, go check out my other stuff. I got a lot of live streams that I've got going on Rumble, YouTube. So, but yeah, I mean, my walk away is like, come up with your own conclusions, but know when you're going into a realm of, if you feel certain about something, make sure there's evidence to back it up. Come up with something. Like, you know, it's difficult to live in the world. Life on earth is weird, man. So come up with a philosophical and a theological basis. Make sure that it hits all the fundamentals. The fundamentals are epistemology, metaphysics, ethics. If they hit those 3, the only one you're going to find is Christianity. So God bless you all. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And keep up with me. Like the stream. What's wrong with you? Like it. You're on Twitter. 40 people watching. I mean, come on. Give it a like. Look out for your boy. But, all right. Y'all have a good night. Good weekend. God bless.